Chapter 5674. The Kinwu people, who were quasi-transcendents, naturally couldn't withstand so many attacks. They quickly fell into a very troublesome situation. When he saw the quasi-transcendents die, he knew that he wouldn't be able to withstand Lin Feng and the others' attacks. He wanted to beg for mercy, but Lin Feng had no intention of letting him go. Therefore, he didn't beg Lin Feng for mercy. He tried to escape, but Lin Feng didn't give him the chance. When Lin Feng sensed that the quasi-transcendents of the Kinwu people wanted to escape, Lin Feng immediately used the Great Fate technique. The power of destiny surged into the body of this quasi-transcendent powerhouse and dissolved the secret technique that he was about to use to escape. That cultivator wanted to use a secret technique to escape, but it was useless. His face turned deathly pale. After a short time, Lin Feng and the others killed the cultivator of the Golden Crow clan who had broken through to the next cultivation level. Lin Feng then collected the quasi-transcendence source energy. Lin Feng and the others then attacked the quasi-transcendence of the ancient devil clan. The quasi-transcendence body exploded. Their bodies turned into billions of strands of devil chi. The strands of devil chi flew out. It was an extremely powerful escape technique, but it was very strange. As long as one strand of devil chi escaped, the quasi-transcendents would be able to regenerate their flesh and blood. Therefore, it was very difficult to dissolve this strange technique. After all, it was very difficult to block all the strands of devil chi. Lin Feng still used the Great Fate technique. He used the Great Fate technique to break the quasi-transcendence escape technique. The strands of devil chi once again condensed into the quasi-transcendence original body. Why is this happening? The quasi-transcendence of the ancient devil clan roared unwillingly. Die! Lin Feng said coldly. Then, all kinds of attacks bombarded the quasi-transcendence. After an hour, the quasi-transcendence of the ancient devil clan finally couldn't hold on any longer. They were killed by Lin Feng and the others' attacks. Lin Feng collected the quasi-transcendence source energy. The mysterious ancient emperor went to refine the origin source of the true immortal realm cultivators. Although he couldn't use the origin source of the true immortal realm cultivators, many of his people could still use it. In the distance, many people risked their lives to come and watch the battle. They saw everything that happened here from afar. More than 5,000 experts, 3 transcendents, and more than a dozen sage realm experts had all been killed. What a shocking thing this was! Everyone's faces were filled with shock and horror. They all looked at Lin Feng. They knew the ancient emperor of supreme mystery wasn't the one who had done all this. It was Lin Feng. Who the hell is he? Many people couldn't help but discuss. They were very curious about Lin Feng's identity. Many beautiful female cultivators looked at Lin Feng with burning eyes. They wanted nothing more than to throw themselves at Lin Feng. Such a handsome young man, and so strong, was a prince on a white horse. If Lin Feng curled his finger at these female cultivators, many of them would be willing to give themselves to him. But Lin Feng didn't have such thoughts right now. His mind was now focused on cultivating in seclusion. He wanted to refine the source energy to improve his cultivation. Lin Feng was very curious. He didn't know how much the source energy could improve his cultivation. As for the Kinwu people, the epic lost races, and the ancient devil clan, they were no longer a threat. Although they might have some saints, they probably didn't have any quasi-transcendence. If they weren't stupid, they would have fled the great Yin world as soon as they heard the news. If they didn't, Lin Feng wouldn't mind exterminating them after he came out of seclusion. Lin Feng then returned to the island. The people on the island also knew the result of the battle. They cheered loudly. Everyone looked at Lin Feng with admiration. Lin Feng was really too heaven-defying. If it wasn't for Lin Feng, the result wouldn't have been like this. After that, Lin Feng started meditating in seclusion. He entered time and space to meditate. Lin Feng devoured and refined all the source energy. After devouring all the source energy, Lin Feng broke through from the 3rd level of the Golden Immortal Realm to the 10th level of the Golden Immortal Realm. He didn't break through to the Saint Immortal Realm as Lin Feng had expected. However, Although he didn't break through to the Saint Immortal realm, Lin Feng was actually very satisfied with this seclusion. After all, Lin Feng's accumulation was too strong. It was indeed difficult for him to break through. This time, Lin Feng broke through 7 levels in one go. This kind of breakthrough was actually extremely heaven-defying. If he settled down for a while, he should be able to break through to the Saint Immortal realm. Of course, breaking through to the Saint's celestial layer was extremely difficult. Therefore, Lin Feng had to find some extremely strong opportunities to help him break through to the Saint's celestial layer. That way, his chances of breaking through to the Saint's celestial layer would increase. If he only relied on himself without the help of opportunities, it would be too difficult for him to break through. After Lin Feng came out of seclusion, he learned from the profound ancient emperor that the cultivators of the Qinwu people, the ancient demon clan, and the epic lost race had all fled the great Yin world. The 3 clans had suffered such heavy losses that they shouldn't be much of a threat anymore. The profound ancient emperor intended to make this island the new ancestral land of the great Yin ancient emperor. Because the array formations outside the island were terrifying enough, the profound ancient emperor also knew how to control these array formations. This place was the safest place. Even if they encountered any danger in the future, they could still reap the benefits of these array formations. They could also calmly deal with all kinds of dangers that appeared. Lin Feng rested for a few days after coming out of seclusion. He planned to leave the Great Yin world because Lin Feng still had to go to the Buried God Star region. Therefore, he couldn't stay in this place for too long. Princess Yaya wanted to follow Lin Feng to the Buried God Star region. However, because it was too dangerous, Lin Feng didn't let her follow him to the Buried God Star region. After accompanying Princess Yaya for a few days, Lin Feng set off again. The ancient starship Xian Yuan followed the Starry Sky route map and quickly flew in the direction of the Buried God Star region. End of chapter. Chapter 5675. The Xianyuan ancient Starry Sky ship quickly flew through the Starry Sky world. What followed was another long journey. Lin Feng had inquired about it before and found that if they wanted to reach the Buried God Star field, they would have to pass through at least 4 areas covered by magnetic fields, each more dangerous than the previous one. From this, one could imagine how dangerous the areas covered by magnetic fields were. About 2 years later, they arrived at the second area covered by the magnetic field. Outside the area covered by the second magnetic field, a large number of cultivators had gathered. These cultivators were pacing back and forth. They wanted to cross over, but it wasn't easy to do so. In fact, it wasn't impossible to cross over. Just like the epic lost race, some of the masterminds behind the scenes, or some alien life forms, had mastered the method to cross the magnetic field. However, ordinary cultivators couldn't master these methods. If they wanted to cross over, they would have to risk their lives to cross the area covered by the magnetic field. Over the past 2 years, Lin Feng had thoroughly stabilized his cultivation. Just like before, Lin Feng hadn't found a powerful opportunity yet. Therefore, if he wanted to break through, he still had to wait patiently. Lin Feng's trio flew down from the Xianyuan ancient Starry Sky ship. Lin Feng then put away the Xianyuan ancient Starry Sky ship. Then, they entered the area covered by the magnetic field. Lin Feng took out the heart compass. With the heart compass, they wouldn't get lost in the area covered by the magnetic field. The area covered by the second magnetic field was very dangerous. For example, one day, Lin Feng and the others saw a group of cultivators flying in front of them. Suddenly, those cultivators turned into ashes. After Lin Feng's trio saw this scene, their faces turned pale with fright. They hadn't noticed anything unusual at all. Those people had turned into ashes. They had died a miserable death. However, since they died in this place, it meant that there must be some unknown dangers in the area ahead. Therefore, Lin Feng's trio quickly took a detour and didn't dare to continue along the ancient road. A few days later, Lin Feng and the others saw auroras flying in the distance. Those auroras streaked across the sky. The world seemed to be on the verge of extinction. The power of those auroras was too terrifying. Lin Feng didn't dare to hesitate. He quickly took Du Zhu and Heretic Venerable Holy and quickly left through the void. However, there were still some cultivators in that area who hadn't left in time. When the auroras shone on them, their flesh and blood instantly disappeared. Only blood-stained skeletons were left. Those auroras, not only were they extremely strange, but they were also extremely terrifying. Gave people a creepy venerable feeling. The skeletons were quickly devoured by the dark starry sky world. And the others? They became even more careful, because the region where. But since Lin Feng and the others had entered the second magnetic field, they hadn't seen anything like that. Even if they hadn't seen anything, they still had to be careful. Although that terrifying existence didn't appear, the level of danger here had already exceeded the region covered by the first magnetic field. If they let their guard down a little here, it was very likely that he would die without a burial ground. Therefore, in the region covered by the second magnetic field, Lin Feng and the others had been extremely nervous. Sometimes you had to be nervous. If you weren't nervous, it would be easy to let your guard down. Once you let your guard down, your perception of the outside world and your prediction of danger would be greatly reduced. Once one's perception of the outside world and their ability to predict danger were greatly reduced, the consequences would be extremely terrifying. It was very likely that they would lose their lives here. Lin Feng was very clear about this situation. On this day, Lin Feng and the others felt violent fluctuations coming from the left. There was a great battle on the left. Originally, Lin Feng didn't intend to meddle in other people's business. However, Lin Feng sensed a rather familiar aura. After sensing that familiar aura, Lin Feng decided to take a look at the place where the battle was taking place. Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the evil dominator wholly flew towards the direction of the battle. When they arrived, Lin Feng was shocked. One side of the battle was actually the Emperor Brush. When Lin Feng rescued the Emperor Brush said that he had an extremely important matter to attend to. Then, the Emperor Brush left the undying world. Lin Feng didn't see the Emperor Brush again after that. He didn't expect to see it here. The ones fighting the Emperor Brush were more than a dozen evil spirit warriors. The evil spirit warriors were creatures from the world of the mastermind. Lin Feng had seen them a few times before. These evil spirit warriors were considered low-level creatures in the world of the mastermind. However, even so, their strength was extremely terrifying. Although the Emperor Brush didn't show any signs of defeat, he was still outnumbered. If the battle dragged on, it would be extremely disadvantageous for him. Lin Feng quickly flew towards the battlefield. Lin Feng summoned the Book of the Dead. 56 specters flew out. The specters began to attack the evil spirit warriors. The group of evil spirit warriors' faces turned extremely ugly. The leader of the evil spirit warriors stared coldly at Lin Feng and roared furiously. "Who are you, brat? How dare you meddle in our business? Do you know who we are?" Lin Feng sneered. "Aren't you just a bunch of lowly creatures from the mastermind's world?" Hearing Lin Feng's words, the evil spirit warriors were almost angered to death. Although they were low-level creatures in the world of the mastermind, they were high and mighty existences in the outside world. They looked down on other races. But now, someone actually dared to call them lowly creatures. How could these evil spirit warriors accept this? The group of evil spirit warriors looked at Lin Feng with murderous gazes. These evil spirit warriors wanted to kill Lin Feng. However, they were attacked by 56 specters. Although these evil spirit warriors were very powerful, they couldn't withstand the attacks of 56 specters. Soon, more than a dozen evil spirit warriors were killed. Lin Feng still had some questions to ask the leader of the evil spirit warriors. Therefore, the leader of the evil spirit warriors wasn't killed. Instead, he was suppressed and became Lin Feng's prisoner. Chapter 5676. I didn't expect to see you here, Senior. Lin Feng looked at the Emperor Brush and said. When the Emperor Brush saw Lin Feng, he was surprised and asked, "What are you doing here?" Lin Feng replied, "I'm planning to go to the buried god's starfield." "Why are you here, Senior?" The Emperor Brush replied, I'm here to find something that can restore my divine power. Oh? There's something here that can restore your divine power. Lin Feng was surprised. The Emperor Brush had been sealed for many years, so his cultivation was far from his peak. Therefore, it wouldn't be easy for him to restore his divine power quickly. He needed to find something that could restore his divine power, but Lin Feng didn't know what it was. However, the Emperor Brush shouldn't have left the undying world in a hurry because of this. Lin Feng was interested in the conflict between the Emperor Brush and the evil spirit warriors. Lin Feng asked, "Why did Senior get into a conflict with these evil spirit warriors?" The Emperor Brush replied, "These evil spirit warriors sensed the aura of the human emperor in my body, so they wanted to capture me," said Lin Feng, nodding. Immediately after, he arrived in front of the evil spirit warrior. The evil spirit warrior looked at Lin Feng with hatred. If they joined hands, how strong would they be? If it wasn't for Lin Feng, the evil spirit warriors would have been able to capture the Emperor Brush. They wouldn't have ended up like this. Now, he was Lin Feng's prisoner. He might die in Lin Feng's hands later. Of course, he hated Lin Feng to the core. He wished he could cut Lin Feng into 1,000 pieces. Lin Feng didn't say much to the evil spirit warrior. He directly used the soul-searching technique on the evil spirit warrior. Lin Feng wanted to find some useful information from the evil spirit warrior's mind, such as information about the mastermind's world or other secrets. However, when Lin Feng used the soul-searching technique on the evil spirit warrior, the evil spirit warrior's soul was instantly destroyed. This was because there was a powerful restriction in the evil spirit warrior's soul. If others tried to search for the secrets in its soul, or if the evil spirit warrior wanted to reveal some secrets, he would be attacked by the restriction. Only death awaited him then. The evil spirit warrior died tragically. Lin Feng frowned slightly. He had wanted to get some secrets from the evil spirit warrior, but it seemed like his wish had come to naught. The evil spirit warrior's corpse fell into the darkness. Lin Feng looked at the Emperor Brush and asked, "Senior, where are you going?" The Emperor Brush replied, "I'm going to look for the ruler of this place. The ruler of this magnetic field should be an extremely terrifying existence, right?" Lin Feng asked. "Yes, the ruler here is extremely terrifying. But back in the days, that ruler had some connections with the human emperor, and he's an old friend of mine. He has some things I need, so I want to go and have a look," said Lin Feng. The Emperor Brush explained. Lin Feng thought for a moment and said, "Then I'll go with you to take a look. If there are any unforeseen circumstances, we can take care of each other." The Emperor Brush nodded. They didn't stay there for long. They quickly left. 3 days later, they passed through an extremely terrifying magnetic field. Then, in the depths of the magnetic field, they saw a huge palace floating in the void. The palace was actually a palace made of white bones. "Is the palace where the ruler lives?" Lin Feng asked. The Emperor Brush nodded and said, "That's right. This is where he lives. That palace of bones is actually a terrifying treasure. That strong cultivator has spent his entire life refining it." Lin Feng asked, "Is he an expert from the netherworld?" The Emperor Brush nodded and said, "He is indeed an expert from the netherworld. He came from the netherworld to the Yang realm and occupied this starry sky world. He became the ruler of this starry sky world. This was because the ruler wasn't a cultivation realm, but a title. Therefore, there was a huge difference in the strength of these rulers. For example, the ruler of the Deathly Zone, the ruler of the Forbidden Zone, the ruler of this starry sky world, the ruler of the Wasteland world, and so on. The cultivation bases of these rulers were clearly different. However, those who dared to call themselves rulers were usually extremely powerful existences. Lin Feng's group of 4 arrived outside the palace. The Emperor Brush said, "An old friend has come to visit. I didn't expect you to still be alive." A voice came from the palace. The Emperor Brush said, "Unless the Emperor Brush is destroyed, I will never die. Since you were able to find me, this is the will of the heavens. Come in." As soon as he finished speaking, then the door of the palace opened. Then, they flew towards the Great Hall of Bones. Then, they entered the Great Hall of Bones. Lin Feng saw that there was a throne of bones in the depths of the palace. On top of it sat a skeleton wearing a yellow robe and a crown. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel a little apprehensive when he saw the skeleton's attire. This guy was actually wearing a yellow robe and a crown. It seemed like he was quite particular. He must be a very powerful person. Skeleton Sovereign, I think you should know why I'm here, right? The Emperor Brush said. The Skeleton Sovereign said, Of course I know why you're here. The 9th Emperor left something for me. I've been keeping it for you. The Skeleton Sovereign took out an item that was surrounded by holy light. Lin Feng didn't know what it was exactly, but it should be a treasure that could help the Emperor Brush recover its godly energy. The item flew towards the Emperor Brush, and the Emperor Brush kept it. The Skeleton Sovereign said, The bloodline of the brat beside you is really strong. How about we make a deal? If you let him stay, I can give you some good stuff. Lin Feng was speechless when he heard the Skeleton Sovereign's words. This guy was actually targeting him. However, Lin Feng had many tricks up his sleeve, and he had the Emperor Brush with him. He had nothing to fear. The Emperor Brush said, I can't agree to that. The Skeleton Sovereign said, What if I insist on letting him stay? The Emperor Brush said, Then we can only fight. Ha ha ha, I'm just joking with you. The Skeleton Sovereign said with a smile. Then, he said seriously, However, this brat seems a little similar to someone I knew in the past. Lin Feng couldn't help but ask, What's the name of the person you knew? The Skeleton Sovereign said, He's called Lin Baitian. Chapter 5677. Lin Feng was surprised that the skeletal monarch had seen his father before. However, Lin Feng remembered that his father had tried to rescue his mother. Therefore, if Lin Li's father really came over, he should have taken this ancient starry sky path. It seemed to be quite normal for the skeletal monarch to have seen his father. The skeletal monarch continued, Your bloodline is very similar to Lin Baitian's. You must be his relative, right? He's my father, Lin Feng said. Lin Feng asked, How did you meet him back then? Back then, when he passed by here, I saw him fighting with a group of masters from the Mastermind's world. Then, he killed all the masters from the Mastermind's world. But at that time, there was something wrong with him. He seemed to have been planted by someone. He was in a half-conscious, half-lost state. Then I brought him to my White Bone Palace. I wanted to devour him to improve my cultivation, but I failed. Instead, I was injured by his domineering aura. I still feel very depressed when I think about it. Later, he woke up in my palace. After chatting with him, I learned that his name was Lin Baitian. He was a cultivator from the 9 continents world. Actually, I've never heard of that name before. But even though I've never heard of him, he's killed so many strong cultivators from the Mastermind's world. Such a person can compete with the strongest cultivators of this epoch. Lin Feng asked, What happened after that? Where did my father go? Your father left along the ancient path of stars, the skeletal monarch said. Lin Feng couldn't help but have a lot of thoughts. He wondered if his father had reached the buried god's starfield. Lin Feng asked, How many years ago was that? The skeleton sovereign replied, It's been about 200 years. 200 years was a very, very long time ago. Lin Feng's heart was filled with mixed feelings. He wondered what happened to his father after that. Did he manage to rescue his mother? Lin Feng had lost contact with his father long ago. Now, he could only wait until he reached the buried god's starfield. Only then would he be able to find out more information. Lin Feng looked at the Emperor Brush and said, Senior, let's leave now. The Emperor Brush nodded. Lin Feng and the others didn't stay there. They left the palace because they were friends with the skeleton monarch. Therefore, they were able to leave the star field that was enveloped by the magnetic field without any hindrance. After leaving, Lin Feng summoned the ancient ship Xianyuan. They boarded the ancient ship Xianyuan. They continued to travel through the starfield. The Emperor Brush went to refine the mysterious item that could recover his godly power. The brush was an extremely terrifying existence in the past. If he could recover his divine power, his cultivation would definitely increase by a large margin. This was something Lin Feng wanted. After all, he and the Emperor's relationship. Naturally, Lin Feng hoped that his friend's cultivation increase. After 3 months, the Emperor Brush came out of seclusion. Lin Feng felt that the Emperor Brush was different from before. It was a very special feeling. Lin Feng didn't know what was different about the Emperor Brush. However, this feeling was very strong. Lin Feng guessed that it was because the Emperor Brush's cultivation had recovered. Was that why he had such a feeling? He wondered how much of the Emperor Brush's cultivation had recovered. Lin Feng hoped that the Emperor Brush would follow him to the buried god's starfield to rescue his mother. However, Lin Feng didn't know if the Emperor Brush had other matters to attend to. Therefore, Lin Feng asked, "Senior, do you have other matters to attend to? If not, why don't you follow me to the buried god's starfield?" The Emperor Brush nodded and said, "I have already settled my matters. I can follow you to the buried god's starfield." Lin Feng was overjoyed to hear the Emperor Brush's words. With the help of the Emperor Brush, it would be a great help to Lin Feng. In the next few years, the Xuanwu Starfield continued to explore the starfield. The Xianyuan ancient spaceship continued to sail through the starry sky world. 5 years later, they arrived at the periphery of the third magnetic field. The third magnetic field was much more terrifying than the first and second magnetic fields. They hadn't entered the magnetic field yet. Lin Feng could already feel the terrifying aura within the magnetic field. Lin Feng and the rest flew down from the Xianyuan starfield. Then, Lin Feng kept the Xianyuan starfield. There were many cultivators gathered outside the third magnetic field, but those cultivators didn't dare to enter the starry sky world enveloped by the third magnetic field. At this moment, the Emperor Brush said, "This magnetic field isn't simple. Back then, I came here with the 9th Emperor. However, this place was too terrifying. We couldn't pass through it and had to retreat. Senior, what dangers did you encounter in this magnetic field?" Lin Feng asked curiously. The Emperor Brush continued, "At that time, we encountered an unknown existence. He appeared silently, and many people died tragically. However, no one was able to find him. His methods were too terrifying. That's why we retreated. The unknown was often the scariest. The terrifying existence that the Emperor Brush mentioned had killed so many people, but no one was able to find him. If someone could find him, no matter how powerful he was, they wouldn't be so afraid of him. After all, if they could find him, they could join forces to deal with him. They might even be able to defeat him. However, they couldn't find him at all. They didn't know what kind of existence he was. This existence had always been hiding in the dark, like a venomous snake hiding in the darkness. He could unleash a sure-kill attack on any cultivator standing in the open at any time. This was simply too terrifying. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. What if he bumped into such a strong cultivator? That would be too terrifying. However, no matter how dangerous this magnetic field was, Lin Feng had to pass through it. Lin Feng could only hope that they wouldn't encounter this terrifying existence. It would be troublesome if they were to encounter such a terrifying existence. End of chapter. Chapter 5678. The Emperor Brush continued, "I know you have a complete map of the starry sky, but I'm afraid it won't be that easy if we want to rely on our own methods. There should be some cultivators in this place who have some special methods. They might be able to bring us there. We can follow them." After hearing the Emperor Brush's words, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. "It would be great if there were such people," Lin Feng said. "Then let's look around and see if there are such people." The Emperor Brush continued, "Even if there really is such a person, we have to be on guard against them. This is because people like them will often secretly kill those people after receiving their commission. Then, they will steal all the treasures of those people." The corner of Lin Feng's mouth twitched slightly after hearing the Emperor Brush's words. Lin Feng said, Is it worth working with such people? The Emperor Brush replied, Not everyone is in this line of work. Sometimes there are people who follow the rules. As for whether we can meet these people, it depends on our luck. If we're lucky, we'll meet these well-behaved people. If we follow these well-behaved people into the magnetic field, we might be able to pass through smoothly. If we follow those ill-behaved people, they'll definitely think of ways to deal with us on the way. If we really meet such a situation, we will capture them and force them to bring us along. Lin Feng nodded. This method was very feasible. After all, Lin Feng and the rest were very strong. It wouldn't be easy to plot against them. Lin Feng asked Du Zhu and the heretical sovereign saint to scout for information. They wanted to see if there were such people as the Emperor Brush said. However, Du Zhu and the heretical sovereign saint didn't manage to find out anything. The Emperor Brush frowned and said, There were people in this business in the past. Could it be that no one is doing this anymore? Said Lin Feng. Maybe. After all, the situation back then is completely different now. Said Lin Feng. The Emperor Brush said, If no one is doing this business, then we can only pass through on our own. Although the first and second magnetic fields were more dangerous, it wasn't a problem to pass through if one was strong enough. However, the third magnetic field had one or more mysterious existences. It was indeed too dangerous to pass through. Either you have some special means and you can use these special means to travel to the past, or you could pray that you wouldn't meet any terrifying existences in the dark. However, if you met any terrifying existences in the dark, there was a high chance that you would die here. However, Lin Feng's way of doing things. He liked to take everything into consideration, including the dangerous situations he might encounter. Only in this way could he control everything in his own hands. Only in this way could he control his own fate. All right, let's take a break and enter the third magnetic field, Lin Feng said. Everyone nodded. At this moment, a young man flew over with a fan in his hand. He arrived beside Lin Feng and the others. He cupped his fists and asked, Were the few of you trying to find out about the cultivator who does that kind of special business? Lin Feng nodded and said, That's right. We were looking for them. Do you know anything about them? The young man said, I do know someone who can bring others through this magnetic field. Lin Feng and the others' eyes lit up. Obviously, not everyone could come into contact with people who did this kind of business. That was why it was difficult to obtain information about them. Lin Feng guessed that the other party would be secretly observing the people here to see if they had enough money to bring them through. If they brought people with ordinary wealth over, they would take such a huge risk. Even if they killed them halfway, they wouldn't be able to obtain anything. They wouldn't be able to obtain many treasures. That was why they had to choose a group of people from this group to scout for information. These people were usually people with extraordinary backgrounds and had many treasures on them. It was best if they weren't particularly strong. Lin Feng was very strong. However, Lin Feng was only at the Golden Immortal Realm. Du Zhu and the Heretic Sovereign Sage were even worse. They were only at the Dao Immortal Realm. As for the Emperor Brush, it was a special life form. Even Lin Feng couldn't sense its cultivation level. Perhaps special life forms like them couldn't be measured by the cultivation level of ordinary cultivators. Therefore, in other people's eyes, even though Lin Feng and the others were strong, they weren't at the top of the world. Lin Feng and the others didn't seem ordinary. They should have some good stuff on them. That was the reason why the young man had come looking for Lin Feng. Lin Feng asked, Brother, can you introduce us? The young man suddenly hesitated, as if he had something he couldn't say. He had been rather enthusiastic just a moment ago. Yet, at this very moment, he actually had such a troubled look on his face. Lin Feng immediately knew what he was planning. This person obviously wanted some benefits. Lin Feng didn't say much. He took out 1,000,000 immortal stones and gave them to the young man. He said, This is a small token of my appreciation. The young man put the immortal stones away and said enthusiastically, Sir, come with me, I'll take you there. Lin Feng nodded. Then, the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the Heretic Sovereign Sage followed the young man and flew into the distance. Half an hour later, they saw a huge ancient starry sky ship. The ancient ship was rather special. This was because the ancient starry sky ship was already very dilapidated. It even had a decaying feeling. A gust of wind blew over, as if it could blow the ancient ship apart. The young man said, "That senior is in this ancient ship." Lin Feng asked curiously, "How should I address that senior?" The young man said, "Everyone calls him Old Blind." Old Blind? When Lin Feng heard that name, he couldn't help but frown. End of chapter. Chapter 5679. When they arrived at the cabin, they saw 4 people sitting inside. One of them was an old man. The old man's body was extremely thin. His hair was white, and his eyes were blind. There were no black pupils in his eyes, only white. He looked very strange. The old man was clearly the blind old man that the young man had mentioned. Apart from the old man, there were 3 other people, 2 men and 1 woman. One of the men was middle-aged, while the other looked rather young. However, when they sensed it, they didn't seem particularly young either. They had cultivated for more than 100,000 years. As for the woman, she was a middle-aged woman. The 3 of them should have come here for the same reason as Lin Feng's group. The young man said, "Rest here for a bit. When it's time to depart, the blind old man will tell you." Lin Feng's group nodded, then found a place to rest. The young master left the dilapidated ancient ship. He was probably going out to do business. After Lin Feng's group arrived, the other people narrowed their eyes and observed Lin Feng's group. When they saw that Lin Feng's group didn't seem to be very strong, they lost interest and withdrew their gazes. For the next few days, Lin Feng's group stayed in the dilapidated ship. Then, more than 10 cultivators arrived one after another. There were men and women, young and old. At this time, the blind old man stood up and said, "I only bring 20 people with me every time I go on a mission. Everyone is here now." Someone asked, "How many immortal stones do we have to pay for you to bring us through this magnetic field?" The blind old man said, "I don't want low-grade or mid-grade immortal stones. I want high-grade immortal stones. 50 million per person." After hearing this price, many people couldn't help but be shocked. 50 million per person? This price was too high. After all, these were high-grade immortal stones. They weren't mid-grade or low-grade immortal stones. 50 million high-grade immortal stones were equivalent to 500 billion low-grade immortal stones if they were exchanged for low-grade immortal stones. Therefore, this price was indeed a bit too high. At this time, the blind old man continued, "I'm sure that with your connections, you should know that other than me, there are a few other people who have special maps that can bring you through. However, you should know that some people have ulterior motives. Perhaps you only need to pay them 20 or 30 million high-grade immortal stones for them to bring you through this magnetic field. However, have you considered one thing? If those people want to kill you on the way and rob you of all your treasures, will you be able to resist? My price might be a bit high, but I can guarantee that I won't cheat you along the way." After hearing Old Blind's words, someone immediately said, "How can we believe you? Unless you swear that you won't do anything to us along the way. Only then will we trust you." The blind old man said, "People who do business like us never swear, so if you want me to swear, it's absolutely impossible. If you trust me, you can stay here and give me the immortal stones. If you don't, you can leave now." The cultivator slightly frowned. However, he didn't leave. At this time, someone said, "Can we pay a portion first? After you successfully bring us through this magnetic field, we'll pay the other portion." The blind old man said, "I don't have such a rule here. My rule is to pay in one go. If you can't pay in one go, then you can only leave the ship." Lin Feng said, "All right, we'll pay in one go then." Lin Feng took out 200 million high-grade immortal stones and gave them to the blind old man. The blind old man said, "Young man, you're a straightforward person." Lin Feng smiled and didn't say anything else. To others, 200 million high-grade immortal stones might be an unimaginable amount, but to Lin Feng, it was just a hair from 9 oxen. After all, Lin Feng had obtained several 100 billion high-grade immortal stones in the time reversal world. Therefore, 200 million high-grade immortal stones were naturally nothing to him. After seeing Lin Feng pay the 200 million high-grade immortal stones, the blind old man nodded. After hesitating for a bit, the others also gave their high-grade immortal stones to the blind old man. The blind old man said, "Rest for a day, we'll leave tomorrow. If you have anything else you want to do, you can do it now. However, you must come back before noon tomorrow. Because we'll leave on an auspicious day, we won't miss it because we're waiting for someone." Some people left the ship to do something, perhaps to say goodbye to their relatives or friends. There were also many people who didn't leave, waiting for the ship to depart. Lin Feng and the others didn't leave the ship either. On the second day, the people who left returned one after another. When noon arrived, the blind old man said, "Everyone, the exciting space voyage is about to begin. Get ready, we'll set off immediately." As soon as the blind old man finished speaking, the dilapidated starry sky ancient ship started and flew towards the starry sky world covered by the magnetic field. At this moment, a cultivator said, "Blind old man, if we take the ancient ship into the magnetic field, won't we be too big of a target? If that's the case, won't we become living targets for the terrifying existences inside?" The blind old man laughed strangely and said, "Don't worry, there won't be any problems." The cultivator frowned slightly. He wasn't satisfied with the blind old man's answer, but he could only suppress the worry in his heart for now. At this time, the dilapidated starry sky ancient ship entered the starry sky world shrouded by the magnetic field. When this dilapidated starry sky ancient ship entered the starry sky world shrouded by the magnetic field, something shocking suddenly happened. This was because some of the array formations on the ancient starry sky ship had been activated. This array formation was actually an invisibility array formation. When this array formation was activated, the ancient starry sky ship became invisible. This was truly a powerful technique. Lin Feng was extremely shocked, because this invisibility array wasn't recorded in the stone scripture. However, Lin Feng knew that a long time ago, someone had indeed researched this invisibility array. However, it had been lost a long time ago. Now, the invisibility array had reappeared on this dilapidated ancient ship. Lin Feng wondered if he could make a deal with the blind old man and use some treasures to exchange for the invisibility array. End of chapter. Chapter 5680. The ancient ship quickly flew through the starry sky world enveloped by the magnetic field. Since the ship was invisible, they did not encounter any dangers along the way. One had to admit that the ancient ship was very powerful. Although it was impossible to shield them from all dangers, it could at least shield them from 80% of the dangers. The remaining 20% was something they might not necessarily encounter. Therefore, if they were lucky, they might be able to silently pass through the starry sky world enveloped by the magnetic field. Of course, this was something Lin Feng and the others hoped to see. Being able to pass through safely was the most practical thing. They did not want to experience anything shocking here. If he were to experience those soul-stirring events, who knew if he would be buried here? Some people wanted to go out and take a look at the scenery outside. After all, looking out through the small window in the cabin was completely different from looking out from the deck. Seeing that some people wanted to go out, old Blindy said, "I advise everyone to stay in the cabin and not go out. Although the entire ancient ship is enveloped by a great formation, there are some unimaginably terrifying existences in this place. They have terrifying senses. The moment you leave the ancient ship and reach the deck, your auras might leak out. If your information is leaked, you might implicate everyone here and die here." After hearing old Blindy's words, the few cultivators who wanted to go out paled. They naturally did not want to die here, so they sat back down. Lin Feng walked toward old Blindy. Lin Feng said, "Old Blindy, how about we make a deal?" The blind old man replied, "I've never made any deals with anyone." Lin Feng said, "Look at what you're saying. You haven't even heard my conditions. How do you know you won't make a deal with me?" The others looked at Lin Feng curiously. wondering what kind of deal Lin Feng wanted to make with old Blindy. They pricked up their ears and listened to the conversation between Lin Feng and old Blindy. Old Blindy could not help but ponder. In fact, although Old Blind was blind, he was still able to see. But he was very capable. He could sense that among these people, Lin Feng and the others were the most extraordinary ones. Since Lin Feng wanted to make a deal, Old Blind wanted to see what Lin Feng wanted to do. Old Blind stood up and walked towards the second floor. The ancient ship had a total of 3 floors. Now that everyone was on the first floor, there was no one on the second floor. Lin Feng also followed Old Blind to the second floor. Old Blind asked, "May I know what kind of deal you wish to make with me, young friend?" Lin Feng said, "I'm very interested in the invisibility formation here. I want to obtain it." The blind old man laughed strangely and said, "The invisibility formation is my unique technique. I dare say that I'm the only one in the entire universe who can use it. The reason I was able to pass through the magnetic field is all thanks to this invisibility grand array. If I tell you about this invisibility grand array, wouldn't I be ruining my own business?" Clearly, Old Blind had no intention of making a deal with Lin Feng. It was understandable that Old Blind was worried about these things. After all, Old Blind did not know Lin Feng's background. If Lin Feng obtained the method to set up the invisibility formation from Old Blind, Lin Feng could sell it to someone else. At that time, Lin Feng would make a fortune, and Old Blind's unique technique would be leaked. If his competitors found out about it, he would no longer be able to do business. If that was the case, he would not be able to do any business in the future. All of his businesses would be snatched away by others. Lin Feng knew what Old Blind was worried about. He said, "Senior, don't worry. I won't teach this invisibility formation to anyone else. I'll only be using it for myself." Old Blind said, "Whether you use it for yourself or teach it to someone else, it has nothing to do with me. I have no intention of teaching it to anyone else." After saying that, the old blind man walked up to the first floor. Lin Feng said, "Everyone has their own destiny, especially at the end of the epic. Destiny seemed to be death. Who could break this destiny? Senior, do you think you can break the destiny of death?" Old Blind stopped and asked, "What do you mean by that?" Lin Feng said, "What I'm trying to say is that after the end of the epic will be destroyed. The destinies of countless living beings have long been determined. Breaking this destiny is extremely difficult. It just so happens that I have a divine ability here. It's called the Grand Fate Art. If you can comprehend the Grand Fate Art, you'll be able to change your destiny. Old Blind, are you interested in this divine ability? The Grand Fate Art, ranked second among the 3,000 great Das? You actually cultivated such a divine ability?" Old Blind said in shock. "The Grand Fate Art wasn't the Great Fate Art, nor was it as powerful as the Great Fate Art. However, the Grand Fate Art was related to certain things related to destiny. Sometimes, destiny and destiny seem to be intertwined. If one could cultivate the Grand Fate Art, the benefits one would receive would be unimaginable. The Grand Fate Art was already attractive enough. And now, it was the end of the epic. Who knew when the epic would be destroyed? Perhaps it would be destroyed next year, or the year after that. No matter how long the epic was, it wouldn't take thousands or tens of thousands of years for it to be destroyed. No matter how long it took. In other words, the epic might be destroyed in the next few decades or even a century. How many people would die during the epic's destruction? Old Blind didn't know if he would be able to survive. But Old Blind still wanted to try his luck, even if the chances of success were slim. However, if he could obtain Lin Feng's Grand Fate Art, in that case, the probability of survival would be greatly increased. As such, at this very moment, when Lin Feng mentioned the Grand Fate Art, Old Blind was tempted. Old Blind said, "Are you sure you won't impart the invisibility formation that I taught you to others?" Lin Feng said, "Of course not. Since we're making a deal, let's follow the rules. Whether it's the Grand Fate Art that I taught you or the invisibility formation that you taught me, we need to keep it a secret. We can't impart these things to others." Old Blind said, I'm an old-fashioned person, and I like to abide by these rules. That's why I'm naturally able to abide by them. What I'm most afraid of is that youngsters like you won't be able to abide by them," Lin Feng said. "You don't have to worry about that. I've always kept my word." Old Blind nodded, then took out a jade tube and handed it to Lin Feng. Lin Feng also took out a jade tube and handed it to Old Blind. End of chapter. Chapter 5681. Lin Feng and Old Blind Man each took a jade tube and used their spiritual will to scan the contents. Lin Feng found that there was no problem with the array recorded inside, and a smile appeared on his face. Of course, there was no problem with the great fate technique that Lin Feng gave Old Blind Man. Old Blind Man should be able to tell. Soon, Old Blind Man smiled as well. The cooperation this time was quite pleasant. The two of them chatted and laughed as they reached the first floor. Seeing the two of them coming down, everyone wanted to know what kind of transaction they had completed. As for what kind of transaction they had completed, no one knew. They could only guess in their hearts. In the following period of time, the ancient ship continued to travel in an invisible state. However, the starry sky world enveloped by the third magnetic field was not peaceful. There were dangers everywhere. The ancient ship they were on was always in an invisible state. That was why they were able to successfully avoid these dangers. About a month had passed. He did not see the other ancient ships in front of him. The blind old man said, "Those ancient ships are controlled by another power. Riding on their ancient ships, it would be impossible for us to escape. You only need to pay 20 million high-grade immortal stones." After hearing this, the corners of many people's mouths twitched slightly. Old Blind Man continued, "You must feel uncomfortable because you spent too much immortal stones on this old man's ship, right? But there's no other way. Before we set off, I told you about the stakes. You didn't leave this old man's ship, right?" Now, everyone was starting to doubt Old Blind Man's claim that the people on the ancient ships would kill the customers and steal their treasures was true. But since they had already paid, there was no point in saying anything. At this moment, the ancient ships in front of them emitted intense waves of energy. Clearly, there was a huge battle on the ancient ships. Next, they saw some cultivators rushing out from the dolls on the ancient ships to the deck. Then, more cultivators rushed out and started fighting with them. The first to rush out were the cultivators who wanted to escape. Those cultivators who wanted to escape were quickly killed. It didn't take long for the several starry skies ancient ships to calm down. After seeing this, many people's faces turned pale. Not long ago, they were still doubting Old Blind Man's words. For example, killing customers and stealing their treasures. Now that they saw it, they felt that spending 50 million high-grade immortal stones was a waste. But now, they were rejoicing. What were immortal stones compared to one's life? It was nothing at all. At the very least, it was safer to follow Old Blind Man. If they followed those people, they might even lose their lives here. After another month, Lin Feng and the others saw the fleet again. However, the situation seemed a little strange this time. Those ancient ships were floating in the void, motionless. Everyone's expression couldn't help but change. One of the cultivators said, "There's something wrong with those ships. Should we go up there and check them?" The blind old man's voice trembled as he said, "Don't say anything. Let's quickly leave this place." When they heard Blind Man's trembling voice, they felt that the situation's Blind Man. Old Blind Man had always been very calm, but at this moment, his voice was trembling. Compared to the usually calm and composed Old Blind Man, it was as if he was a completely different person. Clearly, the situation before them was not good. Even Old Blind Man was afraid. Lin Feng suddenly thought of the strange existence that Emperor Brush had mentioned. Could it be that the strange existence had appeared here? Did the cultivators on those ancient ships die because of it? Thinking about that, Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. This situation was extremely bad. However, the only thing worth rejoicing about was that the ancient ship they were on could turn invisible. If this ancient ship could deceive the heavens and the sea, and those strange existences, then they would be able to leave this place quietly. No one dared to speak anymore. They were all praying that the ancient ship could leave quietly. The ancient ship left the region at an extremely fast speed. After flying for more than 1,000 miles, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They had flown for such a long distance without any special movements. Did that mean that those strange and terrifying existences hadn't discovered them? Now that everyone had relaxed, they couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Old Blind's ancient ship that could turn invisible was indeed very powerful. "I was almost scared to death just now," one of the cultivators said. "I wonder what kind of attack they suffered," another cultivator said. A third cultivator said, "This place is too dangerous. We didn't see what happened to the ships with our own eyes, so we can't be sure what kind of terrifying existence attacked them. However, I feel that they suffered because there were more ships, making them a bigger target. In addition, when they fought a life and death battle, there were some places that weren't cleaned up. It might have attracted some terrifying existence." Everyone was talking at the same time. Many people were very curious about the unknown existence that attacked the ships. They kept talking about it. Old Blind Man said in a deep voice, "In this place, don't ever think about exploring the unknown and terrifying existence because nobody knows what they are. The only thing we need to do is to leave this place as soon as possible." Everyone nodded. However, at that moment, the ancient ship shook violently. "What's going on?" Everyone's expression changed. The ancient ship was supposed to be very stable. Why had it suddenly started shaking? Old Blind Man stood up abruptly. His expression was uncertain. At that moment, the ancient ship shook again. It seemed like something was shaking the ancient ship. This situation, everyone's hearts were in their mouths. Could we have been discovered by some strange existence? Suddenly, a cultivator said with a quavering voice. The faces of the others turned pale. If they were discovered by some terrifying existence, then they would be in trouble. Perhaps what they had to face was death. Old Blind Man said, "Don't speak nonsense." The others turned pale and didn't dare to say anything else. The ancient ship shook more and more violently. Not long after, Lin Feng felt a gloomy and cold aura fill the air. His expression changed drastically. It seemed like some kind of power had penetrated the ancient ship's defensive restrictions and was entering the ship. Chapter 5682. The Emperor Brush also sensed the strange energies seeping into the ancient ship. "Be careful, a strange energy is seeping in," the Emperor Brush said. Lin Feng nodded and looked at Blind Man. Lin Feng believed that Blind Man had experienced something similar before. After all, Blind Man had been running this business for a long time. He should have encountered something similar before. Lin Feng wanted to see if Blind Man had a way to solve this problem. If he couldn't, he would think of something else. If worse came to worst, they would have to escape. If they escaped, they would have to rely on their own methods. If they died here, they could only blame themselves for not being strong enough. Lin Feng looked at Blind Man and asked, "Blind Man, a strange energy is seeping in. It seems like an unknown existence will enter the ship soon. Do you have a way to deal with it?" Blind Man didn't answer Lin Feng's question. Instead, he continued, "I can sense this energy as well. Could it be the legendary?" Blind Man thought of something, but he didn't say it out loud. "What is it?" someone asked. Blind Man said, "It's an existence that I can't tell you. If I do, it will be even more troublesome. What should we do now?" someone asked. Many people's faces were extremely pale because the unknown in the third magnetic field was too terrifying. This made everyone feel helpless. Now, everyone could only place their hopes on Old Blind. They hoped that Blind Man would be able to think of a way to solve this crisis. Blind Man said, "Don't worry, I still have some tricks up my sleeve." With that, Old Blind took out an ancient bronze lamp and lit it up. Bursts of black light gushed out from the ancient bronze lamp, enveloping the entire ancient city. Lin Feng had seen Buddha resin before. Some people used it to expel evil, but the material in Blind Man's lamp wasn't Buddha resin. Lin Feng wasn't too sure what it was. When the dark energy enveloped the entire ancient ship, the ancient ship was completely enveloped by the dark energy. Everyone realized that the unknown existence that was shaking the ancient ship had stopped moving. The ancient ship became stable again. Everyone was pleasantly surprised, and then someone asked, "Senior, what is inside this ancient bronze lamp? It can actually scare off an unknown existence?" Old Blind replied, "Don't ask what you shouldn't ask." The cultivator who asked this question smiled awkwardly. The ancient starship continued to sail through the starry sky world. About 2 months later, the blind old man said, "We're almost out." Everyone heaved a sigh of relief after hearing this. This magnetic field was too large. Who knows how it formed in the past to cover such a large area? Fortunately, they were about to leave. If they continued to stay in this starry sky world for a while, everyone felt that they might go crazy. The next part of the journey seemed to be easier. As they were about to leave the starry sky world, the dangers were gradually decreasing. In fact, the most dangerous area was the central region. Lin Feng's group was quite lucky. The real danger they encountered was when the ancient ship was shaken by an unknown existence. Fortunately, they managed to resolve that danger. However, Blind Man's expression didn't relax. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Logically speaking, they should be in the outer region of the magnetic field. Why did Blind Man have such an expression? Lin Feng asked curiously. "Blind Man, do you feel that something is wrong?" Old Blind said, "Although we're not too far away from the exit, we're still here. We've been sailing here for several months, and we don't know if there's something watching us. Some terrifying existences like to attack people when they let their guard down. If we're targeted by such existences, the situation will be very bad." After hearing Blind Man's words, many people's expressions turned unsightly. Someone asked, "We can't be that unlucky, right?" Blind Man replied, "I hope not." Blind Man's hope didn't come true, because they ran into trouble the next day. This time, in the darkness outside the ancient ship, sinister laughter could be heard from time to time. However, no one knew what it was that was laughing at. The most frightening thing was that these unknown existences were constantly shaking the ancient starry sky ship. Blind Man took out the ancient bronze lamp again. This time, however, the lamp failed. Clearly, not all creatures were afraid of Old Blind's bronze lamp. The situation before them had become extremely dangerous. This was especially true after the repeated attacks from the unknown existences had caused many cracks to appear on the ancient ship's defenses. However, if they were to leave, it would take them at least 10 days. Such a long time was enough for the unknown existences to destroy the ancient ship's defenses. If they were to encounter such a situation, many people would die at the hands of those unknown existences. Many people were trembling in fear. "Blind Man, you must have some other way, right? We don't want to die, Blind Man. Hurry up and use all your methods." Many people looked at Blind Man. They hoped that Blind Man could continue to display his might and scare off those unknown existences. Blind Man sighed and said, "This time, I really have no other way. I can only hope that the defenses can last a little longer." After hearing Blind Man's words, many people's pupils shrank. If even Blind Man had no other way, what could they do? They could only pray that the defenses wouldn't be broken. Once they were broken, it would be over for them. However, the situation kept developing in a direction that was even worse than before. That was because the defenses could only last for about 3 days. The destruction of the restrictions was already very serious. It was like a piece of porcelain with dense cracks on it. Those defensive restrictions could shatter at any time. Chapter 5683. What should we do? What should we do? What should we do? The restrictions outside are about to break. Are we really going to die here? I'm not willing to die here. I really don't want to die. I don't want to die here either. I still have a lot of youth ahead of me. My family has a way to transcend epochs. How can I die here? The cabin was in complete chaos. Many people were terrified. They weren't willing to die in this place. But now that they were faced with such a dangerous situation, they had no way to resolve it. Everyone's face was pale. Lin Feng's face was gloomy. The situation was terrible. At that moment, the Emperor Brush said, "Maybe I can strengthen the seals on the ancient ship. That way, the seals will last for a few more days." Everyone's eyes lit up. If they could hold on for a few more days, there might be a chance. Someone said, "Senior, please use your divine ability quickly." The Emperor Brush nodded. Then, it formed a series of mysterious seals with its hands and shot them into the ancient ship. Powerful holy light gushed out from the seals. The holy light started to repair the broken restrictions. The power of the human emperor! Lin Feng was shocked. The holy light was the power of the human emperor. The power of the human emperor was one of the most terrifying powers in this epoch. After all, the human emperor was the supreme being of the human race. It represented the supreme glory of the human race. The power of the human emperor had an extremely powerful restraining effect on many evil creatures. If it was an ordinary evil creature, it would have fled long ago. However, the unknown creatures outside were too terrifying. Therefore, they didn't leave even when faced with the power of the human emperor. They continued to attack the restrictions on the ancient ship. However, the power of the human emperor was extraordinary. Even if the unknown creatures outside were attacking the restrictions on the ancient ship, they still couldn't stop the restrictions from being repaired. Many people were excited to see the restrictions being repaired. Many people became extremely excited. The power of a Rahuang was indeed extraordinary. It could actually repair the broken restrictions so quickly. If the restrictions could be repaired completely, they would definitely be able to last a little longer. However, the power of the human emperor wasn't able to repair the restrictions to 100%. About 60 to 70% of it had been repaired. However, even if he could repair about 60 to 70%, it would still be pretty good. The ancient starry sky ship's defensive restrictions once again blocked the attacks of those unknown existences. "Old blind man, please increase the speed of the ship to the maximum." Everyone looked at Old Blind. The old blind man nodded and tried to increase the speed of the ancient ship. Because this ancient ship was quite dilapidated, it couldn't travel at its peak speed for a long time. It could easily destroy this ancient ship. However, if it was just traveling at top speed for a few days, there shouldn't be any problems. The ancient ship's speed became faster and faster. In the end, he reached the peak. But those unknown existences outside were still bombarding the ancient starship's defensive spells. The ancient starry sky ship lasted for about 6 days before it couldn't hold on any longer. Although he had held on for 6 more days. However, they were still unable to charge out. Crack! Crack! The sound of shattering rang out one after another. Many of the restrictive spells outside the ancient starship were finally severely damaged. Then, a large amount of strange energy poured in. That strange energy made many people's bodies go limp and fall to the ground. Not good! Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. The situation was very dangerous. Now, they could only try to break out. Apart from this method, there seemed to be no other way. However, at that moment, Lin Feng saw 3 figures flying in the distance. When he looked carefully, he saw that the one in front was a woman. She was wearing a long white dress and looked very young. She was beautiful and had an otherworldly temperament. She was like a peerless fairy who had fallen from the 9 heavens. 2 white skeletons followed behind the woman. After seeing this strange combination, Lin Feng's expression became extremely shocked. Who exactly was that woman? Why were there 2 skeletons behind her? Wasn't this scene a little too strange? The others clearly saw the woman as well. Some people couldn't help but show a trace of expectation. If those unknown existences went to kill that woman, would they be able to escape from danger? Every man for himself, the devil takes the hindmost. It was normal for them to have such thoughts. Soon, everyone discovered something that made them extremely happy. Because when that woman appeared, those unknown existences seemed to have stopped attacking. Moreover, those unknown existences' auras were quickly moving away. They left! someone said in disbelief. Lin Feng was also very surprised. Those unknown existences had actually left. For some unknown reason, could it be because of that woman and her two companions? After thinking about this, Lin Feng couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Who was that woman? That woman and the two skeletons behind her seemed to have glanced in the direction of the ancient Starry Sky ship, then retracted their gaze. In fact, the ancient Starry Sky ship was still in an invisible state and couldn't be seen with the naked eye. However, that woman and her companions seemed to be able to see it. Thinking of their terrifying cultivation, seeing the invisible ancient Starry Sky ship didn't seem inconceivable. End of chapter. Chapter 5684. The woman and the two white skeletons behind her were very fast. It didn't take long for them to disappear from everyone's sight. After the woman completely disappeared, everyone retracted their gazes. One of the cultivators said, "That woman and those two skeletons can't be thinking of passing through the Starry Sky world, right? They actually swaggered through the Starry Sky world. It seems like they aren't worried about their own safety at all. I'm really curious as to what realm they are at. Are they not afraid of the dangers here at all? They don't even put the ruler of this place in their eyes?" Another cultivator said, "Since they dared to swagger through the Starry Sky, it means that they aren't afraid of the ruler of this place. Although I don't know what level they are at, I feel that they are unimaginably strong. They must have some terrifying means. Even the unknown existences that besieged us were forced to retreat. With such a cultivation level, no matter where they go, they can do whatever they want. I wonder if we will be able to have such strength in the future." This was also the thought in everyone's mind. Of course, everyone wanted to have such terrifying strength. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. That woman's cultivation level was terrifying. In the future, Lin Feng would definitely become a strong cultivator like her. Lin Feng was very confident about that. The ancient Starry Sky ship quickly flew forward. Finally, they successfully left the area covered by the third magnetic field. After leaving this place, everyone's faces showed an expression of relief. They were finally out of danger. Their tense expressions could finally relax a little. The cultivators on the ancient Starry Sky ship left one after another. It didn't take long for them to leave. Lin Feng bid farewell to old Blindy and left with the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the heretic sovereign Holy Emperor. After leaving the Starry Sky world, Lin Feng summoned the ancient Starry Sky ship Xianyuan. The four of them boarded the ancient Starry Sky ship Xianyuan. Although the Starry Sky world was also extremely dangerous, compared to the area covered by the third magnetic field, it was simply a drop in the ocean. While the ancient Starry Sky ship Xianyuan was flying in the Starry Sky world, Lin Feng began to set up an invisibility array formation for the ancient Starry Sky ship. Before this, Lin Feng had been studying the invisibility array formation. Therefore, he had long memorized the method of setting up this kind of array formation. However, setting up such a large-scale invisibility array formation wasn't an easy task. It required a lot of precious materials. Fortunately, Lin Feng had been collecting all kinds of precious materials over the years. Therefore, Lin Feng was able to collect all these extremely precious materials. Lin Feng spent a month before he finally succeeded in setting up the invisibility array formation. Lin Feng. The invisibility array formation was activated. The ancient Starry Sky ship Xianyuan disappeared without a trace. The ancient Starry Sky ship Xianyuan, in fact, the ancient Starry Sky ship. Lin Feng's eyes Lin Feng's. The ancient Starry Sky ship Xianyuan actually had the ability to turn invisible. This ability was really terrifying. From now on, the ancient Starry Sky ship Xianyuan would become even more mysterious. Lin Feng and the others had been tense for a while. Plus, they were also very tired from traveling in the Starry Sky world. They needed a good rest. When they passed by a life planet, Lin Feng decided to go to the life planet to take a rest. Naturally, no one had any objections. Therefore, they arrived at the life planet. The life planet wasn't particularly big. It could only be regarded as a medium-sized life planet. However, this life planet was very lively because it was the only life planet in this starfield. Therefore, many cultivators in this starfield would come to this life planet to take a rest. Lin Feng's group of 4 came to an ancient city and found a good place to stay. Then, they rested for a few days. During these few days, Lin Feng carefully studied the road map. There was still a magnetic field ahead. This magnetic field was the most terrifying one. After passing through this magnetic field, they would reach the buried god's starfield. Back then, the Emperor Brush hadn't been able to reach the 4th magnetic field. Therefore, the Emperor Brush wasn't particularly clear about the dangers in the 4th magnetic field. After resting for 5 days, Lin Feng and the others' mental and physical states had recovered to their peak. They didn't continue to stay here. The 4 of them left the life planet. Then, they continued to fly in the direction of the 4th magnetic field. After more than a month, they arrived outside the 4th magnetic field. There were very few people gathered outside the 4th magnetic field. This was because everyone knew that once they passed through the 4th magnetic field, they would reach the area where the epic lost race and some living beings from the Mastermind's world were active. They weren't particularly interested in that area. Unless they wanted to join the epic lost race, some cultivators from the Mastermind's world would want to pass through the 4th magnetic field. There weren't any cultivators who made a living like the old blind man. Therefore, if they wanted to pass through the 4th magnetic field, they could only rely on Lin Feng and the others. End of chapter. Chapter 5685. After Lin Feng and the others entered the 4th magnetic field, they became very cautious. They quickly sailed along the ancient starry sky path in the 4th magnetic field. Previously, whether it was the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd magnetic field, they could always see some cultivators while sailing along the ancient starry sky path. But after entering the 4th magnetic field, they didn't see any cultivators. It seemed that only Lin Feng and the other 3 were sailing along the ancient starry sky path. Although they didn't encounter any danger along the way, they didn't dare to be careless. After all, the 4th magnetic field had a reputation. Although they didn't encounter any danger for the time being, it didn't mean that there was no danger. In this place, if they were careless, they might lose their lives. Lin Feng and the others naturally understood this point. The Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship had always been in a stealthy state. After sailing for about a month, Lin Feng and the others encountered a crisis. The existence attacking the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship was a dense swarm of blood-red insects. Those blood-red insects could discover the invisible Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship. Lin Feng was astonished by this ability. Those blood-red insects directly shrouded the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship and then began to gnaw at the defensive restrictions of the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship. The defensive restrictions of the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship were very powerful, but those blood-red insects were extremely strange. They could devour any array formation restrictions. Lin Feng also knew that he couldn't sit still and watch those blood-red insects devour the defensive restrictions of the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship. At that time, those defensive restrictions would be completely devoured. Lin Feng brought out the heaven fire, and all 8 heaven fires flew out. Then, they swept across the world. The destructive power formed by the heaven fire was too terrifying. After the heaven fire wrapped around those blood-red insects, it started to burn fiercely. A large number of blood-red insects were burned to ashes. After seeing this scene, Lin Feng and the others showed a smile on their faces. However, this smile didn't last long. The faces of Lin Feng and the others suddenly turned ugly. Because after a large number of ordinary blood-red insects were burned to death, many mutant insects flew over. These mutated insects were the size of a palm and were blood-red in color. However, there were many golden spots on their bodies. The mutant insect withstood the burning of the heavenly fire. What surprised Lin Feng the most was that there seemed to be too many of them. Generally speaking, mutated breeds were relatively rare. The proportion of mutated breeds in a race was very small. Even if there were mutated species in the race, due to various reasons, mutated species could not appear on a large scale. However, this wasn't the case for the mutated blood-colored insects. These mutated blood-colored insects had formed a large group. With the addition of these mutant insects, it was a terrible thing for Lin Feng and the rest. After all, the mutant insect had withstood the attack of the heavenly fire. Even with the defensive restrictions of the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship, it was unable to resist the devouring of these mutated insects. Damn it, why are there so many mutated insects? How did they reproduce? Du Zhu could not help but curse. Lin Feng's expression was extremely ugly. He also wanted to curse out loud. If they couldn't think of a way to break through, Lin Feng estimated that the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship would only be able to last for 6 to 8 hours. By then, the defensive restrictions would no longer be able to hold on. The Emperor Brush said, "There must be a bug king in the swarm. If we can find this bug king and kill it, we will be able to escape," said Lin Feng. "But those insects are terrifying. If we rashly go out and look for the king of the insects, we won't even be able to find the king of the insects, and will be surrounded by them." What Lin Feng said was indeed something that required careful consideration. This was because some things were easier said than done. For example, rushing out to find the bug king and then killing it. This method was easier said than done. The Emperor Brush had already considered this point. He nodded and said, "Yes, so now we are in a bit of a dilemma." Lin Feng couldn't help but think of the 4 great insect swarms that he had cultivated. Perhaps he could let the 4 great insect swarms fight against the mutated and blood-colored insects? Then he could hold back the mutated and blood-colored insects? This was the only method that Lin Feng could think of. Lin Feng summoned all 4 great insect swarms. In fact, the number of insects that Lin Feng had cultivated was 4 to 5 times more than the mutated and blood-colored insects in front of them. The 4 great insect swarms quickly fought against the mutated and blood-colored insects. However, what made Lin Feng a little depressed was that the 4 great insect swarms he had cultivated were obviously at a disadvantage against the mutated and blood-colored insects in front of them. Many of the spiritual insects were swallowed up, and the casualties were extremely heavy. The only thing that made Lin Feng feel gratified was that the 4 great insect swarms he had cultivated were holding back the mutated and blood-colored insects for the time being. After seeing this scene, Lin Feng and the other 3's faces lit up. Now they could go and find the Bug King. This was their only chance. If they missed this opportunity, they might not have another one. Lin Feng and the other 3 quickly flew out and searched for the Bug King in the swarm. Lin Feng also summoned the Devil King insect. The Devil King insect was extremely sensitive to other insects. In order to find the Bug King, they would need to use the Devil King insect. Under the Devil King insect's lead, Lin Feng and the other 3 finally saw the Bug King hidden in the swarm. Ordinary blood-colored insects and mutated insects were only the size of a palm. The Bug King's body was actually as big as a small mountain. The Bug King had 18 eyes, and each of them emitted an extremely evil aura. End of chapter. Chapter 5686. Lin Feng's face was filled with murderous intent. The situation was urgent, and there was no time to waste. The 4 of them joined forces and flew towards the Bug King. Lin Feng took out all 5 of his ancient weapons. The armor of Dominion, the Magic Lotus, Pangu's Mark, Stone Man Avatar, Golden Dwarf, and the power of the Holy Bone were all injected into Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng's cultivation level reached the pinnacle in an instant. The 5 ancient weapons quickly arrived in front of the Bug King. They attacked the Bug King fiercely. However, at this moment, all 18 eyes of the Bug King shot out a beam of light, each beam containing the power to destroy heaven and earth. 5 of the beams collided with Lin Feng's 5 ancient weapons. They actually sent Lin Feng's 5 ancient weapons flying. When Lin Feng saw that, he was astonished. The Bug King's attack was terrifying. The rest of the lights were moving towards Lin Feng and the others at full speed. Lin Feng quickly took out the Phoenix Shield. He wore the armor of Dominion and held the Phoenix Shield to block the beams of light. The poison ancestor also took out a powerful defensive magic treasure. His magic treasure was a treasure umbrella. It was unknown when he obtained this magic treasure, but the treasure mountain floated above him. After the treasure umbrella opened, hundreds of millions of beams of divine light rained down. It protected the poison ancestor within. Runes appeared on the surface of the evil Dominator Saint's body. The evil Dominator Saint's body was special, because he was transformed from a zombie. In addition, he cultivated some special mystiques. The runes on the surface of his body combined with his physical body was the most powerful magic treasure. Needless to say, the Emperor Brush itself was a powerful Dharma treasure. The Emperor Brush's body emitted boundless holy light. The holy light was the best protection. The beams of light collided with Lin Feng and the rest. There was a clanging sound and the force of the collision cracked the void. Lin Feng and the rest were forced to retreat. Fortunately, Lin Feng and the rest weren't injured. The Bug King was too powerful. It was difficult to kill it through direct combat. Lin Feng looked at Du Zhu and said in a low voice, "Use your poison to attack him." Du Zhu's poison was unparalleled. Now that Du Zhu's cultivation level had increased, the poison in his body was even more powerful. Du Zhu's poison would definitely play an important role in the battle. Although the Insect King's body also contained poison, it was clearly incomparable to the poison in the poison ancestor's body. After all, Du Zhu was a living being born from poison. Any living being that wanted to compete with Du Zhu's poison, they would only be humiliating themselves. Large amounts of poison surged out of Du Zhu's body. The venom flew towards the Bug King and instantly enveloped the Bug King. Then, the poison surged into the Bug King's body. The poison entered the Bug King's body. Lin Feng could clearly feel that the Bug King's reaction speed, strength, and so on had decreased. Both of them had dropped by quite a bit. Du Zhu's poison obviously had a great effect on the Bug King. The Bug King was too powerful. Du Zhu's poison couldn't kill it. However, there was no need to kill the Bug King. Its strength had decreased significantly. This was already an excellent situation for Lin Feng and the rest. This was the best opportunity to kill the Bug King. Therefore, Lin Feng and the rest attacked the Bug King once again. This time, the Emperor Brush wrote the word bind in the void. When the word was written, rays of divine light intertwined in the void. The divine light transformed into a large net. It was like the net of the heavenly Tao. As the saying went, the net of the heavenly Tao was wide, but not wide. The net of the heavenly Tao enveloped the Bug King within. The Bug King struggled violently. The net of the heavenly Tao seemed to be on the verge of shattering. However, it didn't. Clearly, the net of the heavenly Tao could hold out for a while. Lin Feng and the rest's eyes lit up. Lin Feng activated the 5 ancient weapons and attacked the Bug King. The Bug King waved its huge claws at Lin Feng's ancient weapons. Those claws were the Bug King's strongest weapon. Clang, 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 clang. A series of violent collisions sounded. The Chong King's claws clashed with Lin Feng's ancient weapons. Those claws weren't destroyed. The Bug King's claws were truly terrifying. However, the evil Dominator Saint had already arrived beside the Bug King. He jumped onto the Bug King's head. Then, he punched the Bug King's head. Bam! Along with a loud sound, a loud noise was heard. The Bug King's head exploded. Dark green liquid splattered out. It was unknown whether it was the Bug King's blood or brain matter. The Bug King went berserk and swept its thick claws at the evil Dominator Saint. The evil Dominator Saint quickly retreated and dodged the Bug King's attack. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. The evil Dominator Saint's attack had caused great damage to the Bug King. Lin Feng seized this rare opportunity and controlled the 5 ancient weapons to attack the Bug King. 5 ancient weapon-grade true treasures slammed into the Bug King's body, causing it to explode. However, after the Bug King's body exploded, a cloud of black gas quickly flew into the distance. Upon closer inspection, one could see that the black gas had wrapped around a 10-centimeter long bug. Upon seeing that bug, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. That bug was a bug queen. The Bug King and Bug Queen were actually using the same body. This was extremely rare. Lin Feng knew how powerful this bug colony was. The reason why it could give birth to so many mutant bugs must have a lot to do with the Bug Queen. Perhaps it was because the Bug Queen had mutated. Therefore, how could Lin Feng let the Bug Queen escape? As long as he could catch the Bug Queen. By then, Lin Feng would be able to cultivate this kind of mutant bug colony. Lin Feng was extremely interested in cultivating bugs. This was because the swarm that was cultivated could play a crucial role in many situations. For example, this time, the 4 bug colonies had played a crucial role. Otherwise, Lin Feng and the rest wouldn't have been able to find and kill the Bug King. Lin Feng quickly chased after it. His speed was simply too fast. He quickly caught up with the Bug Queen. Lin Feng suppressed the Bug Queen and kept it in the time-space. End of chapter. Chapter 5687. Lin Feng was in an extremely good mood after suppressing the queen insect. The mutated and blood-colored insects had lost the command of their insect king. Chaos ensued immediately. Lin Feng ordered the 4 insect swarms to counterattack. The 4 insect swarms fought back crazily and the mutated and blood-colored insects were defeated. In the end, they dispersed. "We can't stay here for long. Let's leave quickly," Lin Feng said. Everyone nodded. Lin Feng kept the 5 ancient weapons and the 4 insect swarms. Then, he boarded the Xianyuan ancient starship with the Emperor brush. The Xianyuan ancient starship was still in an invisible state. Lin Feng and the rest didn't stop and flew forward quickly. Another month passed. During that month, even though they had encountered some dangers, they hadn't been able to pose a threat to Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng studied the ancient starry sky map carefully. In about a month, they would be able to leave the 4th magnetic field successfully. Lin Feng was looking forward to it. They were finally about to reach the Buried God's starfield. He didn't know what the situation was like in the Buried God's starfield and the 9 heavens God burying coffin. 10 days later, there was a magnetic field storm in the 4th magnetic field. The magnetic field storm was the most terrifying storm among the many storms. This kind of storm would form a magnetic field, and the destructive power of this magnetic field was extremely terrifying. Once one was enveloped by the magnetic field, it would be a devastating thing. Lin Feng's expression was solemn. He didn't know what would happen next. The Emperor Brush said gloomily, "Normally, a magnetic field storm wouldn't occur easily in a world enveloped by a magnetic field. However, such a powerful magnetic field storm has occurred. Something unknown must have happened in the 4th magnetic field." Lin Feng and the rest's expressions changed slightly. What kind of unknown change had occurred in the 4th magnetic field? In fact, Lin Feng wasn't very interested in this change. He just wanted to leave the starry sky world enveloped by the 4th magnetic field smoothly. However, things didn't go as planned. Now that they had encountered a magnetic storm, Lin Feng was extremely depressed. The Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship was simply too big of a target. After being shrouded by the magnetic storm, it found it very difficult to move forward. Therefore, Lin Feng's group of 4 left the ancient starship Xianyuan. Lin Feng put away the ancient starship Xianyuan and then took out the hurricane bead. Magnetic storms were also a type of storm, and the hurricane bead should be able to suppress them. Of course, due to the strange nature of the magnetic storm, the hurricane pearl might not be able to completely neutralize the magnetic storm, but even if it could neutralize a part of the power of the magnetic storm, this was already a great help to Lin Feng and the others. The hurricane pearl was activated by Lin Feng. Immediately, Lin Feng's body surged with powerful magic power. The magical power enveloped everyone. Under the protection of the hurricane pearl, the effect of the magnetic storm on Lin Feng's group of 4 had indeed decreased by 40 to 50%. They struggled to pass through the magnetic storm, but the magnetic storm raged more and more fiercely. This made the faces of Lin Feng and the others become more and more ugly. They felt that they had really encountered a big problem. As the magnetic storm's power grew stronger and stronger, it became more and more difficult for them to resist. After holding on for about 5 days in the magnetic storm, Lin Feng and the others finally couldn't hold on any longer. The magnetic storm raged between heaven and earth. It directly engulfed Lin Feng's group of 4. Then, they saw a huge black hole appear in the center of the magnetic storm, just like a space-time black hole. No one knew where that black hole was connected to. The interior of that black hole exuded an incomparably cold aura, as if it was connected to the world of hell. Once swallowed by the black hole, they would probably face death. Lin Feng and the others tried their best to get rid of the black hole's devouring, but they couldn't get rid of it. In the end, the 4 of them were swallowed by the black hole. The sky and earth spun. When they reappeared, they found themselves in a mysterious space. Was this the space contained inside the black hole? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Before they could stand firm, a cultivator came from afar. That cultivator was shrouded in darkness, and no one knew what kind of existence he was. When he saw that cultivator, Lin Feng's face suddenly changed. Because that cultivator was very likely to be related to this black hole. Then, was he the master of the 4th magnetic field? Lowly ants, you dared to enter the 4th magnetic field world. All of you deserve to die. The terrifying existence said coldly, and then he opened his big hand and slapped towards Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng and the others felt an invisible force fiercely bombarding them. The 4 of them were all sent flying, and their faces became pale. The power of this existence was simply unimaginable. Lin Feng felt that even someone who had surpassed his cultivation level was far too weak in front of this existence. Could it be that this existence was an expert who had surpassed his cultivation level? When he thought of this, Lin Feng's face became extremely ugly. Obviously, the Emperor Brush Du Zhu and the evil revered sage had roughly guessed that this existence's cultivation level was very likely to be an existence who had surpassed his cultivation level. Their faces were also incomparably ugly. No matter how strong Lin Feng and the others were, it was impossible for them to resist an existence who had surpassed their cultivation level. You guys actually survived my attack. It seems like you guys are barely enough for me to devour, said the existence. The terrifying existence said. After he finished speaking, he opened his big hand, and a distorted black vortex appeared in the void. That black vortex seemed to be able to devour everything in the world. Then, a powerful devouring force tried to devour Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng and the others tried their best to resist the devouring force of the vortex, but they couldn't resist it. Their bodies involuntarily flew towards the vortex. That terrifying existence watched all of this with an indifferent expression. To him, devouring Lin Feng and the others was like devouring a few ants. This was the pride of a terrifying existence who had surpassed his cultivation level. Seeing that Lin Feng and the others were about to be devoured. Right at that moment, the sound of footsteps could be heard from afar. When the sound of footsteps could be heard, the distorted vortex in the void instantly collapsed. End of chapter. Chapter 5688. Lin Feng and the others finally took a deep breath. They had been scared to death a moment before. They had almost been swallowed by the black vortex. If they were really swallowed by the black whirlpool, they would definitely die. Fortunately, the black whirlpool had already collapsed. Lin Feng and the rest looked behind them. When they saw the existence behind them, Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. After seeing the cultivator, Lin Feng knew that they wouldn't die this time. This was because the existence that appeared here was none other than the mummified elder. Lin Feng didn't expect the mummified elder to appear in this place. All these years, the mummified elder had been searching for something special. However, Lin Feng didn't know what he was looking for. Lin Feng felt that the thing he was looking for might be related to recovering his strength. Other than that, he might be looking for some lost memories. Of course, this was only Lin Feng's guess. Lin Feng wasn't particularly sure if this was the case. Although Lin Feng and the mummified elder weren't particularly close, at the very least, the mummified elder treated Lin Feng quite well. When Lin Feng was in danger, he would help Lin Feng resolve some of the dangers. After all, the mummified elder was saved by Lin Feng. If it wasn't for Lin Feng, the mummified elder's physical body might have been destroyed by the people in the underworld. If his body was destroyed, he wouldn't be able to escape the calamity no matter how powerful his methods were. "Senior!" Lin Feng shouted. Then, he ran to the mummified elder's side with the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Holy. The Emperor Brush seemed to be deep in thought after seeing the mummified elder. He seemed to have thought of something and his pupils constricted slightly. However, the Emperor Brush quickly returned to normal. Lin Feng's attention was on the mummified elder. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't notice the change in the Emperor Brush's expression. "Who are you?" This terrifying existence looked at the mummified elder with a gloomy expression. He could feel the terrifying power in the mummified elder's body. It was a power that even he was afraid of. Therefore, he didn't attack the mummified elder immediately. At this moment, Lin Feng's heart wasn't calm at all. Back then, when the mummified old man had just escaped, his strength was also very strong. However, it was obvious that there was no way it could be compared to now. His current strength was truly terrifying. Lin Feng was shocked. This terrifying existence should be an existence that surpassed the transcendence realm. Since the mummified elder was able to break his attack, it meant that they were at the same level. There weren't many transcendence realm experts in this era. He wondered if this mummified old man was an expert from this era. "I want the origin energy," the mummified elder said. His voice was extremely hoarse. After hearing the mummified elder's words, the terrifying existence's gaze turned cold. When he saw the mummified elder coming here, he felt that the mummified elder was probably here for the origin energy. Now that the mummified elder had revealed his purpose, he guessed correctly. Naturally, he couldn't give the origin energy to the mummified elder. Those special origins were the epic origins of the previous epic. It was a kind of origin energy that surpassed the Tao. One could imagine how powerful the origin energy was for a cultivator's cultivation. Even someone as powerful as this terrifying existence, and the mummified old man still needed such an origin source. Furthermore, the origin energy wasn't much. How could this terrifying existence give it to the mummified elder? The terrifying being said coldly, "Those origins belong to me, so you'd better leave. If you don't give it to me, I'll have to take it," the mummified elder said coldly. Then, he sent a palm strike at the terrifying existence. The mummified elder's palm strike didn't fluctuate at all. It was like an old man who was about to die. However, no one dared to underestimate the mummified elder's palm strike. At the mummified elder's level, his attacks had already returned to their original state. He didn't need any powerful divine abilities because each of his attacks contained the power of the laws of heaven and earth. His attacks had even surpassed the Tao. The reason he said this was because the most powerful living being born from the Tao of this era was the Saint Realm. Existences that had surpassed the Saint Realm. Naturally, they had surpassed the Tao. After sensing the mummified elder's terrifying attack, the terrifying existence's expression turned gloomy. He was a top expert, so he could naturally sense how terrifying the mummified elder's attack was. Although the mummified elder's attack was quite terrifying, he didn't retreat. Because this terrifying existence was also powerful enough to face the palm of the mummified old man. He also sent a palm strike at the mummified elder. Along with the sound of the violent collision, there was a loud bang. He and the mummified elder collided fiercely. This terrifying existence was indeed strong. The mummified elder wasn't able to gain any advantage. They were evenly matched. At this moment, the mummified elder looked at Lin Feng and said, "Go inside and take that thing out." When he heard the mummified elder's words, Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. Although he didn't know what kind of origin energy was inside, it was something that the mummified elder and this terrifying existence treated with such caution. One could imagine how precious that origin energy was. Perhaps, if he could refine some of that origin energy, he would be able to break through to the Saint Immortal Realm. P.S. Brothers who are out of books can check out Old Mantu's new book, Devouring the Heavens. It's a very good book. End of chapter. Chapter 5689. If he could break through to the Sage Immortal Realm, Lin Feng's combat power would increase tremendously. Although Lin Feng had been searching for the opportunity to break through to the Sage Immortal Realm, he hadn't been able to find it. Now Lin Feng saw hope. Lin Feng nodded and flew towards the depths of the space with the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Saint. The terrifying existence's face turned extremely gloomy. However, he was held back by the mummified elder. Therefore, he had no way of dealing with Lin Feng and the rest. Lin Feng and the rest arrived at the depths of the space very quickly. There was a huge altar in the depths of the space. At this moment, the altar was shattering continuously. There seemed to be something sealed under the altar. That thing should be the special origin that the mummified elder had mentioned. In the past, the Emperor Brush said that a magnetic field wouldn't cause a magnetic field storm in the starry sky world. However, if a magnetic field storm happened, it must be because of some changes. Now it seems that the changes that happened in the area covered by the fourth magnetic field were caused by the birth of these origins. Crack, crack, crack. At this moment, the altar began to shatter. It didn't take long for the altar to shatter completely. Then, a ball of origin flew out from it. The ball of origin wasn't big. It was only the size of a fist. The eyes of Lin Feng and the rest lit up. Lin Feng kept the ball of origin. Ha 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 ha! I finally got this ball of origin! Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. When he got this ball of origin, he felt that his realm was ready to move. This meant that this ball of origin could indeed allow Lin Feng to break through. The Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Saint were all excited. The Emperor Brush was an extremely terrifying existence in the past. However, his cultivation had declined over the years. Although he had regained most of his strength, he was still a distance away from his peak. Lin Feng guessed that the peak of the Emperor Brush was equivalent to an expert who had surpassed his realm. If the Emperor Brush obtained this ball of origin, he might be able to use the power of this ball of origin to raise his cultivation to the quasi-transcendence realm again. As for the Poison Ancestor and the Evil Dominator Saint, they also urgently needed this source. If they could obtain it, they would be able to obtain it. If they could obtain it, their cultivation would be greatly improved. After collecting the ball of origin, Lin Feng, Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the Evil Dominator Saint quickly returned. However, at this moment, a ball of demonic chi flew out. The ball of demonic chi transformed into the terrifying existence. That ball of demonic chi should be an incarnation condensed by the existence. The clone said coldly, "All of you deserve to die. Die." Then, the Emperor Brush's lips attacked, and the Emperor's Dao. That clone wanted to kill Lin Feng and the others, but it wouldn't be easy. After all, it was only an incarnation. So what if the Dominator Saint was an expert who had surpassed his realm? No matter how strong the incarnation was, there was still a huge gap between it and the Dominator Saint. Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao were also relatively strong. Facing the attack of the incarnation, Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao didn't hold back at all. All of them unleashed their strongest techniques. They engaged in a fierce battle with the incarnation. After dozens of rounds of battle, Lin Feng, Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the Evil Dominator Saint worked together to destroy the incarnation. Then, they quickly returned to the mummified elder. This terrifying existence was furious when he saw Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he said coldly, "Return the ball of origin to me. Otherwise, I'll kill all of you no matter where you go." Lin Feng sneered. After obtaining the ball of origin, the mummified elder's cultivation increased tremendously. That terrifying existence would definitely flee without a trace. Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao didn't have to worry about this fellow's threat at all. Even if this fellow wanted to find Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao, how difficult would it be to find a single person in this vast world? Moreover, both sides had already formed a grudge. Even if they gave him the ball of origin, Would he let Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao go? This was simply nonsense. Lin Feng looked at the mummified elder and said, "Senior! We've succeeded!" The mummified old man nodded and exchanged a palm strike with the terrifying being. That terrifying existence was sent flying by the shockwave. The mummified elder waved his hand and a ball of powerful dermic powers surged out and enveloped Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao. Then, they quickly disappeared without a trace. This terrifying existence chased after them quickly. However, he couldn't catch up to Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao. Finally, Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao flew out of the area covered by the fourth magnetic field. The mummified elder looked at Lin Feng and said, "Origin." Lin Feng knew that it was mainly because of the mummified elder that they were able to obtain these origins this time. Otherwise, they would have died without a burial ground. Therefore, Lin Feng naturally wouldn't take these origins for himself. Of course, even if he wanted to take them for himself, he didn't have the ability to do so. He took out the origins and handed them to the mummified elder. The mummified old man took out the 4 origins. These 4 origins were given to Lin Feng, the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the Evil Dominator Holy respectively. Then, the mummified elder disappeared. After obtaining the origins, Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao were extremely excited. Lin Feng said, "Let's go and find a place to refine these origins." The Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the Evil Dominator Holy nodded hurriedly. Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao left the place and found a desolate planet. There were no living creatures on this planet, nor was there any vegetation. It was a dead planet floating in the void world. They entered the interior of this planet and began to cultivate in seclusion. Lin Feng swallowed that origin and spent a month to completely refine it. Then, an extremely powerful tribulation light surged out from between Lin Feng's eyebrows. Obviously, Lin Feng was about to break through to the Sage Immortal Realm. Chapter 5690. Lin Feng flew out from his seclusion. When Lin Feng came out, he saw that Du Zhu and the rest were still in seclusion. It seemed like Du Zhu and the other 2 would still need some time to come out of seclusion. Lin Feng came to the starry sky world outside. The starry sky world was already filled with lightning. In the next half a year, Lin Feng began his tribulation journey. Lin Feng's tribulation was very powerful. However, Lin Feng's accumulation was very strong. Therefore, this tribulation didn't pose too much of a threat to Lin Feng. All kinds of lightning tribulations came down, but they couldn't destroy Lin Feng. In the end, Lin Feng calmly passed through the lightning tribulation. Lin Feng broke through to the Sage Immortal Realm. Although he was only at the first level of the Sage Immortal Realm, he was still very happy. As long as he could break through to the Sage Immortal Realm, Lin Feng was very happy. Next, the advancement of a few small realms in the Sage Immortal Realm. Although it wasn't too simple, it wasn't as difficult as he had imagined. The most difficult part was the advancement of a large realm. This was because the advancement of a large realm required an extremely powerful opportunity to break through. Without an extremely powerful opportunity, it was basically impossible to break through. If he hadn't met the mummified old man who went to the 4th magnetic field to snatch the special world origin, Lin Feng wouldn't have been able to seize this opportunity to break through to the Sage Immortal Realm. After breaking through to the Sage Immortal Realm, Lin Feng sensed his own combat strength. He felt that his combat strength had indeed increased greatly. In addition, his lifespan had also increased greatly. Lin Feng's lifespan had increased to about 180 million years. This was a very long lifespan. Although he wasn't immortal, such a long lifespan was shocking enough. Of course, the prerequisite was that Lin Feng could survive the end of an era. Many powerful cultivators with long lifespan would eventually die during the end of an era. If he couldn't survive the end of an era, so what if he had a long lifespan? At this moment, the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the Evil Dominator Saint flew out as well. The aura of the Emperor Brush had undergone an earth-shattering change. Even though it had concealed it well, Lin Feng could still sense the massive changes that had taken place within the Emperor Brush. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel happy for the Emperor brush after sensing its changes. He wondered if the Emperor brush had recovered to its peak state. Lin Feng felt that it should be about the same. Even if it hadn't recovered to its peak state, it was at least extremely close to its peak state back then. As for Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign saint, they were about to break through to the golden immortal realm. In the next few months, Du Zhu and the evil dominator saint broke through their tribulations. Lin Feng, on the other hand, went into seclusion to adapt to the power he controlled after his breakthrough. Du Zhu and the evil dominator saint completed their breakthroughs smoothly. However, they hadn't completely refined the power of the origin source after their breakthroughs. Therefore, they took advantage of the opportunity to refine all the origin source. After refining all the origin source, Du Zhu's realm stopped at the sixth heaven of the golden immortal realm. The evil dominator saint's realm stopped at the seventh heaven of the golden immortal realm. The benefits that both of them had gained this time were simply too great. At this moment, Lin Feng also came out of seclusion. Lin Feng had completely stabilized his realm after a few months of seclusion. He met up with the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil dominator saint. Then, they didn't stop and flew towards the depths. At this moment, they were already in the buried God Star region. However, Lin Feng still didn't know where the Nine Heavens God Mourning Coffin was. Therefore, Lin Feng wanted to find out more about the specific situation here first. Lin Feng felt that this place was where the lost epic race was active. In addition, there were beings from the Mastermind's world. He was moving around as a human. If he encountered the lost epic race or beings from the Mastermind's world, he might be discovered by those beings. In that case, he might expose himself in advance. Therefore, Lin Feng used the Great Fate technique to change the aura of the four of them. Lin Feng changed the aura of the four of them to that of the otherworldly beings because there were also some otherworldly beings here. It was just that there were fewer of them. The otherworldly beings had some connections with the lost epic race and the Mastermind's world. Therefore, they wouldn't suspect the otherworldly beings. Lin Feng didn't change their aura to that of the lost epic race cultivators because if they pretended to be from the lost epic race, there might be people from the lost epic race who would recognize the race they pretended to be from. Then, they would be exposed. However, if Lin Feng and the others pretended to be otherworldly beings, due to the four universes, there were too many kinds of otherworldly beings. Therefore, they wouldn't know whether they were imposters or not. As long as they imitated the otherworldly being's aura, they could pass off as genuine. After a month, Lin Feng and the others finally saw a life planet. They landed on that life planet. The life planet was full of lost epic race cultivators. In addition to the lost epic race cultivators, Lin Feng also saw many evil spirit warriors. They were a relatively low-level life form in the Mastermind's world. In fact, the higher-level life forms in the Mastermind's world basically didn't come out to move around. After arriving at an ancient city, Lin Feng and the others saw a group of otherworldly beings. Along the way, this was the first time Lin Feng and the others saw otherworldly beings. From the looks of it, otherworldly beings were indeed relatively rare. The otherworldly beings also saw Lin Feng and the others. After seeing Lin Feng and the others, the otherworldly beings became more amiable. Then, more than a dozen otherworldly beings walked towards Lin Feng, the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the heretic sovereign saint. The leading otherworldly being cupped his fists and said, "May I know which universe you are from?" Lin Feng said, "We are from Kunlun." After hearing Lin Feng's words, the otherworldly beings were surprised. The Kunlun universe was the #1 universe. Therefore, the otherworldly beings from the Kunlun universe seemed to have a higher status than other otherworldly beings. Lin Feng asked, "May I know which universe you are from?" The leading otherworldly being replied, "We are from the Aurora universe." After introducing themselves, the otherworldly being invited Lin Feng and the others to have a drink together. Coincidentally, Lin Feng wanted to obtain some information from them, so he casually agreed to the otherworldly being's invitation. Chapter 5691. They found a restaurant and booked a private room. The group entered the private room and ordered some food and wine. Before long, the food and wine were served. The foreign creature in the lead introduced himself. This person was called Zhang Yuan. He was quite talkative. He looked at Lin Feng and asked for Lin Feng's name. Lin Feng still used the alias Ji to introduce himself. Brother Ji, you're so young. Did you only come to this universe recently? Lin Feng shook his head. No, I was born here, said Lin Feng. I see. Zhang Yuan nodded. In fact, there were many otherworldly creatures who were born in the 9 continents universe. They made up 90% of the total otherworldly creatures. There were very few otherworldly creatures who passed through the universe's crystal walls, but their strength was terrifying. Therefore, most of the otherworldly creatures had been living in the 9 continents universe for many years. There were more and more of them, and the strength of their races was also increasing. Of course, overall, there weren't many of them because the otherworldly creatures were stronger. This was common knowledge. The stronger the bloodline, the harder it was to give birth to children. Therefore, the number of otherworldly creatures had always been relatively small. This was the case even now. Zhang Yuan said, Brother Ji, you don't look familiar. You're not an otherworldly creature from this region, right? Lin Feng said, I'm not an otherworldly creature from this star field. We came from another star field. I heard that there are many treasures left behind in this star field from the previous epoch. We wanted to find some great opportunities before the great calamity arrived. So, we took the risk and passed through the magnetic field to come to this star field. Big Brother Zhang, what about you? Did you come from another place as well? Zhang Yuan said. Actually, we've been here for many years. If we calculate the time, it should be around 30 to 40,000 years. Lin Feng said in surprise. It's been so long. You must have obtained a lot of benefits here, right? Were there really many ancient ruins from the previous era and some ancient inheritances here? Even though that's what the outside world is saying, to be honest, we really don't have any confidence. Zhang Yuan said. There are indeed many ancient ruins and inheritances, but they're relatively hidden, and it's not easy for us to find them. Most of the time, it's extremely difficult to find them. Most of the time, we can only slowly gather information. In addition, the lost races of the epoch are incomparably hateful. They've sealed off all information, so our chances of finding out information are greatly reduced. Look, we've been here for tens of thousands of years, but we've only been to 3 ancient historical remains. Lin Feng said. How could this be? Could it be that the lost races of the epoch have sealed off this information so well? Another otherworldly being said. That's right, these damned fellows are quite sinister. They eat meat, but we don't even want to drink a bit of soup. If it wasn't for the fact that we were so weak, we would have killed them long ago. Obviously, the relationship between these foreign beings and the lost races of the epoch was rather subtle. However, there hadn't been too great of a conflict during these years. Small conflicts, however, were unavoidable. The lost races of the epoch didn't go too far. After all, most of the time, the foreign beings and the lost races of the epoch were in a cooperative relationship. It was very normal for allies to have conflicts. Therefore, these small conflicts were tolerable. The reason for these small conflicts was because of the competition for resources and benefits. Both sides tried their best to avoid large-scale conflicts. Lin Feng said. Then they're really hateful. Zhang Yuan said. These lost races of the epoch have always been greedy, and they're never good people. Unfortunately, we have too few otherworldly beings on our side. Even if they're sullen, what can they do? We can't beat them, so we can only keep this sullen feeling in our hearts. Lin Feng said. We'll endure it for now. We'll definitely have a chance to turn things around. Lin Feng paused for a moment, then said, I heard that there's a 9-heaven god mourning coffin here. Have you heard of it? I also heard that there are many fortuitous opportunities inside. Zhang Yuan nodded and said, Of course we've heard of it. There are indeed many fortuitous opportunities inside, but it's currently used by the lost races of the epoch to suppress some experts. However, it's said that there are many places inside the coffin that even the lost races of the epoch haven't been able to explore. Let's not have any extravagant hopes of exploring the 9-heaven god mourning coffin. Those things have no fate with us. Lin Feng asked. Then do you know where the 9-heaven god mourning coffin is? It's in the depths of this starry sky world. It's a forbidden area. Many experts of the lost races of the epoch patrol that area. If you approach that area, you'll be driven away. If anyone dares to enter that area, they'll be killed without mercy. Lin Feng asked. Have you seen the 9-heaven god mourning coffin? Zhang Yuan said. Of course. Back then, we saw the 9-heaven god mourning coffin from afar. It's indeed an unimaginably huge treasure. According to rumors, it's a mysterious treasure that can surpass epochs. Even the lost races of the epoch don't know where it came from. Right now, the 9-heaven god mourning coffin is lying in the sky, as if it can suppress everything. It's majestic and magnificent. The Black Fog clan and the Black Robe clan are the main ones in control of the 9-heaven god mourning coffin. Apart from them, there are also some experts from the world of the manipulators who control the 9-heaven god mourning coffin together with them. They're the 3 strongest groups. Apart from them, there are also many smaller groups that have submitted to them. Many people are stationed there. Lin Feng said. In that case, the 9-heaven god mourning coffin is extremely powerful. It's basically impossible to find fortuitous opportunities inside the 9-heaven god mourning coffin. Zhang Yuan said. Brother, I advise you to stop having such thoughts. Trying to find fortuitous opportunities inside the 9-heaven god mourning coffin is suicide. It's completely impossible. Lin Feng nodded. He didn't continue talking about the 9-heaven god mourning coffin. After all, if he kept talking about it, it might arouse their suspicion. End of chapter. Chapter 5692. After parting ways with Zhang Yuan and the rest, Lin Feng and the rest went to find a place to stay. They planned to rest for a while and think of a plan during this time because they definitely couldn't go to the 9-heavens god mourning coffin rashly. If they barged into the 9-heavens god mourning coffin, they would be courting death. Therefore, they had to think of a feasible plan now. Lin Feng and the rest found a place to stay. The environment of the place was pretty good. After setting up a few soundproof restrictions, they didn't have to worry about the contents of their conversation leaking out. The Emperor Brush said, Perhaps we can sow discord between the foreign realm creatures and the lost race of the epoch. Then we can benefit from it. Lin Feng nodded and said, I also thought of this method. However, it's a bit tricky to sow discord between the two sides. After all, the foreign realm creatures are relatively few in number. When they encounter something, they usually choose to bear with it. Even if there are some conflicts, it's difficult for a large-scale battle to break out. The Emperor Brush couldn't help but nod. It wasn't an easy thing to cause a large-scale battle between the foreign realm creatures and the lost race of the epoch. Perhaps they had to think about it at length. However, something unexpected happened on the second day. Lin Feng and the rest didn't expect it to happen. On this day, a few blood-stained cultivators rushed into the ancient city. Those cultivators were actually the foreign realm creatures. They were severely injured. As soon as they entered the ancient city, a few spiritual arrows pierced through the air and shot into their bodies. Then, those spiritual arrows exploded. The bodies of the foreign realm creatures exploded and they died tragically on the spot. The news of the foreign realm creatures being killed on the street naturally spread like wildfire. Many people were paying attention to this matter. Lin Feng and the rest also heard about this matter. After hearing the news, Lin Feng and the rest quickly went to the place where the foreign realm creatures were killed. When they arrived, they saw that there were already hundreds of foreign realm creatures gathered there. Lin Feng guessed that most of the foreign creatures in this ancient city had already arrived. This ancient city had at least a few million people, but there were only a few hundred foreign creatures. There really weren't that many of them. When he saw Lin Feng and the others arrive, Zhang Yuan said, Brother Ji, you're here too. Lin Feng nodded. He saw some corpses scattered on the ground, as well as some fragments left behind after the arrows exploded. Lin Feng asked, I heard that a few of our brothers were killed. Who did it? Yuan replied. There are some things that we can't talk about here. Let's talk about it when we get back. Zhang Yuan was the leader of all the foreign creatures in this ancient city. Everyone obeyed his orders. Lin Feng nodded. Someone collected the corpses of the foreign creatures and the fragments of the magical arrows. Then, he quickly left the place. After they left, many people were still discussing this matter. Many of the cultivators from the epic lost races were also discussing this matter. On the way back, these foreign creatures' faces were all extremely gloomy. There were fewer foreign creatures to begin with, which was why they were often extremely united. Meanwhile now, several foreign creatures were shot down on the streets, so these foreign creatures were naturally extremely angry. Moreover, these foreign creatures all had vengeful personalities. If they offended the foreign creatures, they would definitely not leave the matter at that. Lin Feng knew this very well. After all, Lin Feng had interacted with them many times, so he was quite familiar with them. Lin Feng and the others followed Zhang Yuan and the others to their residence. They had a huge courtyard here. After arriving, Zhang Yuan asked in a deep voice, Did you find any clues from the broken arrows? The reason why Zhang Yuan asked this was because the arrows forged by different forces were often different. These factions usually had some special methods that other factions couldn't imitate. For example, some special formations or special materials could be used to identify these arrows. One of the otherworldly beings replied, Sir, we've already carefully examined those broken magic arrows. They were all ordinary magic arrows, so we couldn't find any clues. Zhang Yuan's expression became even more gloomy after hearing this. He said, If that's the case, the enemy also knows that we will investigate the origin of the arrows to find out who the murderer is. That's why they used these ordinary arrows to kill our brothers. Another alien said. They went out to look for clues about the ancient historical remains, and now they've been killed. Doesn't this mean that they found some clues? However, those clues were also known by others, so they were attacked. Then, they were injured and fled back to the ancient city. However, they still couldn't escape this calamity and were killed by those people in the ancient city. This possibility was extremely high, and Zhang Yuan couldn't help but nod in agreement with this foreign being's words. At this moment, Zhang Yuan's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He said coldly, Who do you think did this? One of the foreign creatures said. It's hard to say. After all, the factions in this region are very complicated. Anyone could be the culprit. Even though they spoke like this, they actually had some speculations in their hearts. It was because these foreign creatures were relatively powerful, and together with their vengeful nature, ordinary powers definitely didn't dare provoke them. In that case, there were only two powers that dared to provoke these foreign creatures. One was the epic lost race. The other was the experts from the mastermind's world. However, they didn't have any clues. Without any clues, even if the mastermind's world or the epic lost clan were the culprits, they wouldn't admit it. There was a saying, To catch a thief, take the dirty. If you rashly went to find them without any evidence, they could say that you were slandering them. Even if they killed you, you only had yourself to blame. Are we just going to watch our brothers die? Zhang Yuan said with a gloomy expression. Of course, he didn't want to let this matter go, but without any clues, there was nothing he could do. Thinking about this, Zhang Yuan felt very sullen. Adding on the fact that his brothers had died today, he felt even more sullen. At that moment, a voice suddenly resounded. I might have a way to find out who the murderer is. End of chapter. Chapter 5693. The one who spoke was Lin Feng. In fact, when Lin Feng saw the deaths of the foreign creatures, Lin Feng had already guessed who the culprit could be. If it wasn't the epic lost race, then it had to be someone from the mastermind's world. The foreign creatures were also suspicious of these two powers. However, they had no evidence, so they had no way to deal with these people. Now, Lin Feng had to help them find evidence. When the time came, Lin Feng would sow discord between them. As for the foreign creatures, because of the deaths of a few cultivators, they were very united. Together with the fact that the foreign creatures were extremely united, they definitely wouldn't watch their own kind die in vain. If a fight really broke out, Lin Feng would think of a way to lead the foreign creatures to attack the Nine Heavens God mourning coffin. He would take advantage of the chaos to rescue his mother. Of course. Before doing that, Lin Feng would ask his father if he had come to save his mother. If his father had come to save his mother, then he would have been able to instigate a war between the lost clans of the Epic and the alien world. In any case, the lost clans of the Epic weren't good people. If his mother hadn't been saved, then he would go and rescue her. At that moment, Lin Feng was rejoicing in other people's misfortune, but on his face, he looked extremely sad. Of course, he couldn't show it on his face. Otherwise, he would become the enemy of these foreign creatures. Zhang Yuan looked at Lin Feng in shock. After all, so many of them couldn't do anything, but Lin Feng actually had a way. Indeed, Zhang Yuan was extremely surprised. "Brother Ji, do you really have a way?" Zhang Yuan asked anxiously. Lin Feng nodded. "That's right. I do have a way to find out who did this." After saying that, Lin Feng summoned the present mirror. "This is..." When he saw the present mirror, Zhang Yuan's face was filled with shock. He could naturally see that the mirror Lin Feng summoned was extraordinary, but he didn't know where it came from. The other foreign creatures were also trying to guess the origin of Lin Feng's mirror. At that moment, Lin Feng said, "I'm sure you've all heard that 3 extremely powerful mirrors have appeared in this epoch. The 3 mirrors are the past mirror, the present mirror, and the future mirror. The past mirror can see what happened in the past. The future mirror can predict what will happen in the future. Of the 3 mirrors, the present mirror is the most extraordinary one. The present mirror can see what happened in the past and predict what will happen in the future. This mirror of mine is the mirror of the present. By using the mirror of the present, we'll be able to see what happened back then." When they heard Lin Feng, they were pleasantly surprised. If what Lin Feng said was true, then they would be happy to see him. They would be able to find clues. Zhang Yuan said excitedly, "That's great! Brother Ji, let's activate the present mirror and see what happened in the past." Lin Feng said, "If we want to know what happened to these cultivators, we'll need some of their flesh and blood essence." Zhang Yuan nodded and said, "Come, give some flesh and blood essence to Brother Ji." Then, one of the cultivators gave some flesh and blood essence to Lin Feng. Lin Feng refined the flesh and blood essence into pure energy, which was all absorbed by the present mirror. After the present mirror absorbed the pure energy, many patterns appeared on the surface of the present mirror. When they saw the patterns on the present mirror, these foreign creatures all gathered in front of the mirror of present time. Then, they looked at the mirror. However, the surface of the present mirror was still covered in patterns, so they couldn't see anything. After waiting for about 15 minutes, some images appeared on the surface of the present mirror. It was a mountain forest. More than 10 cultivators shrouded in darkness were chasing after a few foreign creatures. The foreign creatures who were being chased were precisely the ones who were shot to death before. The foreign creatures were caught, and a great battle broke out between the 2 sides. They were severely injured, and they had to use a secret technique to escape. When they finally made it back to the ancient city, they thought they were safe. However, at that moment, a group of cultivators hiding in the forest outside, he used extremely powerful magical arrows to kill them. Then, the cultivators shrouded in darkness quickly left, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. "The Black Fog Tribe! They're cultivators from the Black Fog Tribe!" Zhang Yuan roared angrily. Zhang Yuan was very experienced and knowledgeable, so he could naturally tell that those people were cultivators from the Black Fog Tribe. The other foreign creatures could also tell that those people were cultivators from the Black Fog Tribe. Lin Feng could also tell that those people were cultivators from the Black Fog Tribe. The tribe's characteristics were too obvious. In fact, Lin Feng hadn't thought that it was the Black Fog Tribe. The cultivators who killed the foreign creatures were cultivators from the Black Fog Tribe. That was exactly what he wanted. However, it was easier said than done to deal with the Black Fog tribe. The Black Fog tribe was the most powerful lost epic tribe in the buried god's starfield. Moreover, the Black Fog tribe was the first force to control the Nine Heavens god Morning Coffin. The main starfield controlled by the Black-Robed clan wasn't in this place, but they also had a very powerful force in this place. Needless to say, the cultivators from the behind-the-scenes world were even more powerful. Although their forces here weren't bad, this place wasn't dominated by them. This place was dominated by the Black Fog clan. However, these foreign creatures were vengeful people, so they naturally wouldn't give up on revenge. "Sir, the Black Fog tribe's force here is too great. We can't fight against them," said one of the foreign creatures. The other foreign creatures nodded. Although they were very powerful, they were too few in number compared to the Black Fog tribe cultivators. They were at a great disadvantage. After all, they only had 100 or so people here. How could they fight against so many cultivators from the Black Fog tribe? Moreover, the Black Fog tribe was on the same side as the Black Robe tribe and the cultivators from the world of the Black Hand. Zhang Yuan said, "We are indeed weak, but don't forget that we can go to the Starry Sky world and contact the foreign creatures on other planets. If we unite all the foreign creatures, our force can't be underestimated." P.S. Today's update. Tomorrow's update. End of chapter. Chapter 5694. Everyone thought about it, and felt that Zhang Yuan's idea was a good one. Although the number of otherworldly creatures was small, if all of them gathered together, their numbers would still be considerable. In addition, Zhang Yuan belonged to the king clan of the otherworldly creatures. Therefore, Zhang Yuan's status among the otherworldly creatures was relatively high. If Zhang Yuan personally contacted the otherworldly creatures, they would definitely be able to unite when the time came. Therefore, this matter was quickly reached a consensus. Lin Feng said, "This time, we can't just take revenge because the otherworldly creatures snatched away a great opportunity that belonged to us. Originally, they sealed off all kinds of information to prevent us from obtaining these opportunities. We finally obtained these opportunities with great difficulty, but a few of our brothers died because of this matter. This is really too much. Think about all the grievances we've suffered over the years. If we don't take revenge now, when will we? Therefore, not only do we have to take revenge, but we also have to make them pay 10 times the price." After hearing Lin Feng's words, the otherworldly creatures hurriedly nodded. They had indeed been too sullen over the years. Now Lin Feng's words resonated with everyone. Moreover, these otherworldly creatures had extremely greedy personalities. If there were benefits to be gained, they naturally wouldn't miss this opportunity. Zhang Yuan said, "Brother Ji's suggestion is very good. However, we still need to wait for everyone to gather before we discuss this matter at length." Lin Feng didn't say anything else. He only wanted to take the lead and let the otherworldly creatures deal with the rest. Lin Feng believed that once these otherworldly creatures decided to take action, they wouldn't give up until they had obtained enough benefits. Zhang Yuan brought a few people and left to find the other otherworldly creatures' leaders to discuss this matter. Lin Feng and the other 3 bid farewell and left. After returning to their residence, Du Zhu said excitedly, "It seems like there will be a battle soon." Lin Feng nodded. The Emperor Brush couldn't help but sigh. Lin Feng was really an intelligent person. He was able to play these otherworldly creatures in the palm of his hand. The Emperor Brush naturally didn't have a good impression of these otherworldly creatures. This was because these otherworldly creatures had started countless wars. Because of them, countless people had died tragically. It would be strange if the Emperor Brush had a good impression of them. In the next few days, Lin Feng had been trying to find out some information about his father. However, Lin Feng wasn't able to find out anything about his father. He also tried to find out some information about the Nine Heavens God's coffin. Over these years, the Nine Heavens God's coffin had been relatively peaceful. It was reasonable to say that his father's cultivation was so powerful. If he really came here to rescue his mother, it would definitely cause a big commotion. However, this place had been very peaceful all these years. This meant that his father hadn't been here before. Lin Feng was in a bad mood because he had already learned that his father was going to the buried god's star region. What did this mean, heavens and earth? Could be in trouble come up. Lin Feng knew that his father was sometimes clear-headed and sometimes muddle-headed because of the seed demon. Could it be that the seed demon had caused his body to be in a terrible condition? Thinking about that, Lin Feng couldn't help but worry. Lin Feng couldn't find out anything about his father. Now, Lin Feng could only take one step at a time. The most important thing now was to rescue his mother before thinking about finding his father. Then, he would find a way to help his father resolve the seed demon technique. Of course, Lin Feng also knew that the seed demon technique was a technique that the royal family of the mastermind world possessed. It was extremely strange and it wouldn't be easy to resolve the seed demon technique. Lin Feng felt that he might have to capture a few of the royal family of the mastermind world and interrogate them. Perhaps, he might be able to find some countermeasures. Lin Feng and the rest remained in seclusion for the rest of the time. They waited for about half a month. Zhang Yuan and the rest returned to the planet. Then, Zhang Yuan had people gather all of the foreign creatures. "Sir, how did the discussion go?" one of the otherworldly beings asked. Zhang Yuan said, "I've already contacted the 13 leaders. In a few days, we'll hold an alliance meeting to elect a leader. At the same time, we'll discuss specific countermeasures. I'll give everyone 2 hours to prepare. After 2 hours, we'll set off for the Sirius star." Everyone could understand why an alliance leader would be chosen. After all, even though they were all otherworldly beings, they belonged to different factions. Since they were working together, they naturally had to choose an alliance leader. Everyone dispersed. Some of them went back to pack some things, while others didn't need to pack anything and stayed behind. 2 hours later, everyone set off. 5 days later, they arrived at the Sirius star. The Sirius star was a relatively large planet in the buried god starfield. It was very lively, and there were many otherworldly beings on it. There were about 500 or 600 otherworldly beings on the planet. The leader of these otherworldly beings was called Yan Chang. He had 18 pairs of wings, and his entire body was covered in black scales. His body emitted an extremely evil aura, especially his eyes. They were extremely evil, sinister, and terrifying. Yan Chang was an otherworldly being who had surpassed his cultivation level. It was said that he was an otherworldly being who had arrived in the 9 States universe during the beginning of the new era, which was the era of creation. Back then, he had offended someone he couldn't afford to offend and fled. In the 9 States universe, he gradually became an extremely heaven-defying existence. Yan Chan had practically surpassed an entire era. His lifespan was extremely long. Lin Feng found it hard to believe. Actually, the lifespan of foreign cultivators was extremely long. The lifespan of the otherworldly beings was much longer than that of the cultivators of other races. Besides Yan Chang, there were 2 otherworldly beings who had surpassed their cultivation level. One of them was a demon snake. The foreign creature that the demonic snake turned into was called Lady Thousand Charm. She was charming and alluring, forming a great contrast with the other foreign creatures. This was because most of the otherworldly beings were very ugly. There were some who were quite good-looking, but they were relatively rare. Lady Thousand Charms, on the other hand, was so charming and beautiful that she became the goddess in the hearts of many otherworldly beings. The other otherworldly being who had surpassed his cultivation level was called the Heavenly Ghost Demon King. He was an extremely ugly existence with 72 pairs of evil ghost eyes. No one dared to look him in the eye. It was said that if one looked him in the eye, they would be instantly pulled into hell, never to be reincarnated. Chapter 5695. Consort Xianmei said, "Since everyone is here, let's start the meeting." There were around 3,000 foreign cultivators gathered there. These foreign cultivators were extremely strong. Lin Feng guessed that there were also some foreign cultivators, such as those who hadn't received the news, or those who were old, weak, sick, or disabled. However, those foreign creatures could not help much for the time being. Of course, there were more than 3,000 foreign creatures. This was already not a small number. After all, the foreign creatures' individual combat ability was too strong. However, compared to the Black Fog race, these foreign creatures were still not strong enough. The main reason was that the difference in numbers was too great. This was something that the foreign creatures probably knew as well. Lin Feng and the other three were keeping a low profile right now. However, Lin Feng did not have to worry about their identities being exposed by these foreign creatures, because Lin Feng's Great Destiny technique was already extremely powerful. After Lin Feng's Great Destiny technique changed their life auras, these foreign creatures would find it difficult to discover anything unusual. Even the 3 foreign creatures who were about to surpass their realms would not be able to discover the true identities of Lin Feng and the others, so any worries were unnecessary. In this meeting, we first need to elect an alliance leader. This time, there will be 3 candidates competing for the position of alliance leader, Yan Chang said. Hearing Yan Chang's words, everyone knew who the 3 candidates were. In fact, there was nothing wrong with it. After all, there were 3 experts who were about to surpass their realms here. Even if they were chosen to be the alliance leader, they would not dare to be the alliance leader. As for Lady Qian Mei, Heavenly Ghost Demon King, and Yan Chang, they were all very powerful. The Heavenly Ghost Demon King said, "Everyone can vote for me, Yan Chang, and Lady Qian Mei. Whoever has the most votes will be the alliance leader." Thus, more than 3,000 people began to vote. Not long after, the results of the vote came out. About 70% of the people chose Lady Qian Mei. Actually, the strongest among the 3 of them was not Lady Qian Mei. She could only be ranked 3rd among the 3 of them. However, she was simply too beautiful. Thus, many people treated Lady Qian Mei as a goddess. When it came to voting, the first choice was naturally Lady Qian Mei. Thus, Lady Qian Mei defeated the other 2 with a crushing advantage. The other 2 were more depressed, but this was the plan they had already worked out. There was no turning back now. Moreover, experts at their level wouldn't give up their reputation to do such a thing. Empress Qian Mei smiled and said, "Thank you for choosing me as the alliance leader. I'll definitely serve everyone well." Empress Qian Mei's voice could cause one's bones to go soft. This woman was truly enchanting. Many of the foreign creatures looked at Lady Qian Mei with burning gazes. Lin Feng guessed that if Lady Qian Mei wanted others to die for her, there might be people who were willing to do so. Now that we've decided on the leader, we should think about how to deal with this matter, Dame Qian Mei said. She looked at Zhang Yuan and said, "Zhang Yuan, tell me more about what happened." This was because only these leaders knew about this matter. The rest of the people didn't know about the whole process. Of course, they had more or less heard about what had happened. Therefore, they still needed Zhang Yuan to tell them the whole story so that they could understand the whole process. Zhang Yuan said, "Some time ago, I sent a few brothers to search for information about an ancient ruin, and they really did manage to find some specific information. That ancient ruin should be extremely extraordinary. After they received the information, they wanted to come back and report it to me. Then, we'll go there together and take out the treasures in that ancient ruin." But at that moment, their whereabouts were discovered by the cultivators of the Black Fog race. Then, the cultivators of the Black Fog race joined forces to attack my brothers in order to take all the treasures in the ancient ruin for themselves. Then, my brothers were seriously injured and managed to escape. But just as they were about to escape, they were killed by the cultivators of the Black Fog race. When have we, the foreign creatures, ever been so sullen? These years, we've been suppressed too much by them. These people have gone too far. So, we really can't tolerate it anymore. So many of our brothers have died. If we continue to tolerate it, they'll definitely think that we're easy to bully. So, I went to find a few leaders and told them about this matter. They gathered all the leaders here in hopes of finding a solution. After hearing Zhang Yuan's words, these foreign creatures were also extremely angry. After all, they had been oppressed too much these years. Now that they thought about it, they were gnashing their teeth. Lady Qian Mei said, Brothers, you've probably heard Zhang Yuan's heartfelt words. These years, we've indeed been suppressed too badly. Do these people really think that we, the foreign creatures, are pushovers? That they can do whatever they want with us? We really can't tolerate it anymore. We don't have many brothers to begin with. If we continue to tolerate it, perhaps even more of our brothers will be killed. That's right, we can't tolerate it anymore. We must get justice. We must kill those people. We must avenge our brothers who died. Not only must we avenge our brothers who died, but we must also make them compensate us. We must make them compensate us 10-fold, 100-fold. Otherwise, we won't let this matter rest. Many foreign creatures were filled with righteous indignation and started cursing. Chapter 5696. The otherworldly creatures had a fiery temper. They were easily angered. It was naturally easier to arouse their emotions. Lin Feng didn't find it strange at all when he saw the otherworldly creatures roaring and cursing. Now that the otherworldly creatures had gathered together, their battle prowess was obviously terrifying. In the world of cultivators, there was a saying that the number of otherworldly creatures couldn't exceed 10,000. Once there were more than 10,000 of them, they would be invincible. In other words, it was very difficult for the otherworldly creatures to exceed 10,000. If there were more than 10,000 of them, they would be extremely powerful. They would basically be invincible. But Lin Feng and the others only had 3,000 people. There was still a big gap between them and 10,000 people. Even if there were only 3,000 people, it was still unimaginably terrifying. Therefore, even though there weren't that many people, because these creatures were relatively strong, their vitality was relatively tenacious, and they were ferocious, they were a force to be reckoned with. Even if they couldn't defeat the Black Fog race, they would still be able to cause them great losses. Lady Qianmei waved her hand, and the surroundings quieted down. That's right, this time, we have to avenge our dead brothers. At the same time, we have to make them compensate us. Let's send a few representatives to negotiate. If they cooperate with us honestly, we can forget about this matter. If they don't, we'll make them pay with their blood. At worst, we'll just leave this place. The world is big, we don't have to stay here. Everyone agreed with Qian Mainyang's words. If they really fell out with the Black Fog tribe, they naturally couldn't continue to stay in this place. If they continued to stay here, they would definitely be killed by the Black Fog race. Therefore, the higher-ups decided to leave this place as soon as possible. And this point was unanimously acknowledged by everyone. Who should we send to negotiate with them? Yan Chang asked. I'll go. Zhang Yuan said. Zhang Yuan had lost a few of his brothers, so of course, he wanted to go and negotiate. However, Empress Qianmei said, Zhang Yuan, you can't go because your brothers have died tragically. You have too much hatred in your heart, and it's easy for you to become emotional. Once you become emotional, it's possible that something unpleasant will happen, which isn't good for negotiations. As such, we need to send some other people to negotiate. Zhang Yuan also knew that they would not send him. His suggestion to go over was a little too idealistic. Zhang Yuan replied, I don't have to go, but I have to send a few of my brothers. Sure. Lady Qianmei nodded. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Lin Feng had heard that the cultivators of the Black Fog race were all gathered around the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin. In other words, if they went to negotiate, they would definitely enter the Nine-Heaven soul mourning coffin. If he went to negotiate, he could enter the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin to observe the situation inside. After thinking about this, Lin Feng whispered into Zhang Yuan's ear, Lord Zhang, you can send me over. I have the mirror of present here. I can use it to observe the situation inside the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin. If a fight breaks out in the future, we'll be prepared. All right. Zhang Yuan nodded. Other than Lin Feng, there was another cultivator called Zhou Jing who was also sent by Zhang Yuan to go with Lin Feng. As for the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, the heretic sovereign, and the holy sage, they stayed behind. Apart from Lin Feng and Zhou Jing, Empress Qianmei also sent 8 cultivators, making a total of 10 people. After that, Lin Feng and the others did not stop. They quickly left and flew towards the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin. A month later, they saw the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin in the distance. This was Lin Feng's first time seeing the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin. In the void, endless black fog rolled and surged. In the middle of the black fog was an incomparably huge coffin. The coffin was tens of thousands of miles tall, long, and wide. It was as black as ink. The coffin was simply too huge. It was the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin. After seeing the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin, Lin Feng couldn't help but be amazed. It didn't seem to be inferior even when compared to the Supreme Celestial Court. That kind of terrifying pressure, the shock to the soul, was really too shocking. He didn't know the origin of the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin that it was so extraordinary. After seeing Lin Feng's shocked expression, Zhou Jing said, "Brother Ji, this must be your first time seeing the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin, right?" Lin Feng nodded and said, "That's right. This is my first time seeing the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin, but I didn't expect it to be so extraordinary." Zhou Shen said, "When I first saw the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin, I was just as shocked as Brother Ji. I don't know who created the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin. It's hard to imagine how powerful the creator was. Are there really no clues about the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin's origin?" Lin Feng asked. "There really aren't any clues. The only thing we know is that the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin is a treasure left behind from many epochs ago. As for who created it, it's an unsolved mystery," Zhou Jing said. Lin Feng nodded. At that moment, many cultivators flew over from afar. They were all cultivators from the epic lost races. However, they weren't cultivators from the Black Fog race or the Black Robe race. They were cultivators from the Black Fog race and the Black Robe race. They were cultivators from the Black Hand world, and they were responsible for guarding the perimeter. When they saw a group of alien cultivators flying over, they naturally had to stop them from advancing. Dozens of alien cultivators surrounded Lin Feng and the others. One of the leaders said coldly, "This is the place where the Nine-Heaven God mourning coffin is located. Halt and leave this place immediately. Otherwise, we'll kill you without mercy." The group of foreign creatures immediately became furious. They felt restraining fear towards Black Mist Clan, Black Robed Clan, creatures from the world of those behind the scenes. However, they weren't afraid of the other epic lost races. The other epic lost races were much weaker than the three great powers. But now, these ordinary cultivators from the epic lost races were actually able to strut around in front of them. They even dared to berate them. These alien cultivators were all high and mighty existences. Naturally, they were incomparably sullen and infuriated. The eyes of many alien cultivators turned gloomy. They looked at the cultivators from the epic lost races with killing intent. Chapter 5697. The cultivators from the lost races of the epoch could naturally sense the killing intent radiating from the eyes of the foreign beings. However, their faces were full of sneers. They had the absolute advantage in numbers. How could they be afraid of the foreign creatures? Moreover, this was the place where the Nine Heavens God mourning coffin was located. Not far behind them was the Nine Heavens God mourning coffin. As long as they shouted, they would be able to attract the attention of many experts. When the time came, if the foreign creatures dared to act rashly, at that time, they would all die without a burial ground. The leader of the epical race said coldly, "What are you looking at? Do you want to die? Don't think that we won't dare to touch you just because you're a foreign creature. Even if you're a foreign creature, you'll still die if you dare to trespass here. We didn't do anything to you out of respect for the foreign creatures. That's why we're telling you not to lose sight of the severity of the situation." The foreign creatures trembled with anger. They gritted their teeth and wanted to attack, but Lin Feng stopped them. Lin Feng said, "We're here to negotiate with the Black Mist tribe on behalf of the foreign creatures. Right now, the foreign creatures have formed an alliance under the leadership of 3 quasi-transcendents. More than 8,000 of them have gathered together. If the Black Mist tribe is serious about this, they'll negotiate with us. If they don't, we won't hesitate to start a war with them. Of course, Lin Feng was exaggerating the number of cultivators. In fact, there were only 3,000 of them. Lin Feng mainly wanted to intimidate them. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the cultivators from the epical race were startled. Even though they were acting high and mighty right now, they would be scared out of their wits when they actually faced the foreign army. They knew that if a war really broke out, they would be cannon fodder. Moreover, they heard that the foreign creatures didn't exceed 10,000. Once there were more than 10,000, invincible in the world. Even if the other side didn't have more than 10,000 people, they still had more than 8,000 people. 8,000 and 10,000, the difference wasn't that great. Just how great was the destructive power of such a powerful army of foreign cultivators working together? They didn't know why these foreign creatures had gathered together to attack the Black Fog tribe. However, these people weren't stupid either. They guessed that something they didn't know about definitely happened, which was why these foreign creatures were so angry, to the extent where they didn't hesitate to fight. The leader of the epic lost race said, "Wait here for a moment. I'll go in and report this matter." "All right, go ahead." Lin Feng nodded and said. Next, the cultivator from the epical clan swiftly flew inside while the others stayed behind. They cast wary looks at Lin Feng's group. At this moment, Zhou Jing spoke up. "Brother Ji, you're calm in the face of danger. How about we let Brother Ji take the lead later?" The others nodded as well. They could tell that Brother Ji had an extraordinary bearing despite his young age. It was indeed the most reasonable thing to let Brother Ji handle this matter. Moreover, they didn't want to take on too much responsibility, so they were willing to let Lin Feng handle the negotiations. Therefore, the others all nodded in agreement. Not long after, the cultivator who left returned. He looked at Lin Feng's group and said, "Come with me." Then, that person took Lin Feng and the others towards the Nine Heavens coffin. They got closer and closer. As they got closer, Lin Feng couldn't help but feel excited. They were finally going to enter the Nine Heavens God mourning coffin. This time, they were only going in to check out the situation. However, this was already enough to make Lin Feng extremely excited. The next time they entered the Nine Heavens God mourning coffin, it was time for them to make their move. Soon, they arrived at the Nine Heavens God mourning coffin. Under the guidance of the cultivator, Lin Feng's group entered the coffin. The first level of the Nine Heavens God mourning coffin was a huge space. This space seemed to be boundless and contained powerful space-time laws. Apart from that, he couldn't see anything special. Lin Feng couldn't help but think that the place where the Nine Heavens God mourning coffin suppressed the cultivators wasn't on the first level. It should be on a higher level. "Are you the ones who want to negotiate with the Black Fog tribe?" At that moment, a voice was heard. Lin Feng's group turned around and saw a dozen cultivators from the Black Fog tribe walking over. Apart from them, there were also a few black-robed cultivators and a few evil spirit warriors from the world of the Black Hand. They were probably here to watch the show. No one said anything. Instead, they looked at Lin Feng. Clearly, it was as they'd said. They'd let Lin Feng handle the negotiations. Lin Feng said, "That's right. We want to talk with you. This time, your Black Fog tribe has gone too far. Even if you want to steal the treasures in the ancient ruins, you shouldn't have killed so many of our people. Moreover, we've been allies with the lost epic tribe for many times. You killed your allies for the sake of those ancient ruins. What's the meaning of this? Do you really think we're easy to bully?" The leader of the Black Fog tribe sneered. "We didn't kill your people. Don't slander us. Perhaps some other race's forces are pretending to be our Black Fog tribe and trying to frame us," said Lin Feng, smiling icily. "Things have already come to this, and you still want to deny it?" As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Feng took out a crystal ball. It was a ball of memory. Many images were imprinted in the ball of memory. These images were of the Black Fog tribe's cultivators besieging the otherworldly creatures and killing them with arrows. When the otherworldly creatures beside Lin Feng saw these images, their faces turned ashen. They more or less grieved for the loss of their kind. As for the Black Fog tribe's cultivators, their faces turned extremely unsightly. They'd thought that their plan was flawless, but they hadn't expected Lin Feng and the others to find evidence. Even if they wanted to deny it, they had no way to do so. Lin Feng said, "The evidence is conclusive. Do you still want to deny it?" The Black Fog Tribe's cultivator sneered. "So what if you've found evidence? This is a world where the strong prey on the weak. I still have many things to deal with. Get out now, and I won't kill you. Otherwise, I'll kill all of you as well." Chapter 5698. Lin Feng was overjoyed when he saw the Black Fog Tribe cultivator's unyielding attitude. The tougher the Black Fog Tribe cultivator was, the better. If the Black Fog Tribe cultivator's attitude softened too quickly, it would be detrimental to Lin Feng's plans. Lin Feng didn't really want to negotiate with them. If Lin Feng negotiated with them, how could they continue fighting? The tougher the Black Fog Tribe cultivator's attitude was, the lower the chances of negotiation and the higher the chances of fighting. At that time, Lin Feng would be more likely to fish in troubled waters. Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief when he saw the Black Fog Tribe cultivator's unyielding attitude. Of course, Lin Feng wouldn't show his thoughts on his face. Lin Feng's expression was extremely gloomy. He said, "Good, very good. Our 8,000 allied troops are ready to go. Just wait for our arrival." After hearing Lin Feng's words, the Black Fog Tribe cultivator's expression turned slightly gloomy. He knew that these otherworldly beings were extremely difficult to deal with. With so many of them gathered together, they could pose a huge threat to them. At that moment, one of the black-robed cultivators said, "I think there's still a chance for negotiation. There's no need to make things so tense." The black-robed cultivator's words gave the Black Fog Tribe cultivator a way out. The Black Fog Tribe cultivator asked, "What do you want?" Lin Feng said, "It's very simple. Hand over the murderers of our brothers. That's our first condition." "That's impossible," the Black Fog Tribe cultivator said coldly. After pausing for a moment, he continued, "We can compensate you in other ways." Lin Feng sneered. "A life for a life, and a debt must be repaid. This is a matter of course. Not only must you hand over the murderers, but you must also repay our losses tenfold." After hearing Lin Feng's words, the Black Fog cultivator immediately sneered. He said, "You foreign creatures are far too full of yourselves. Don't you know who controls this starry sky world? The master of this starry sky world is our Black Fog Tribe, not your foreign creatures. The reason why the Black Fog clan is willing to negotiate with you is not because we fear you, but because we are giving face to the Black Cloak clan. Therefore, don't fail to appreciate our kindness," said the Black Fog clan. This guy's words were tough, and he felt good about himself. However, after thinking about it carefully, what he said was quite reasonable. After all, the Black Fog Tribe was very powerful in this starry sky world. Ordinary forces did not dare to provoke the Black Fog Tribe. Moreover, the Black Fog Tribe, the Black Cloak clan, the people from the Black Hand world, and many other lost races had formed an alliance. No matter how powerful the foreign creatures were, they were few in number. Therefore, the Black Fog Tribe cultivator really believed that the foreign creatures would not dare to make a move and that they were just bluffing. Lin Feng said with a gloomy expression, "Does that mean there's no way to continue this negotiation?" At that moment, the Black Cloak clan cultivator said, "How about this? Let's each take a step back." "What do you think?" Lin Feng said. "Ask the brothers beside me." "What do you think?" The foreign cultivators next to Lin Feng were all extremely sullen. Of course, they would not agree to take a step back. Moreover, Lin Feng had asked them to repay their losses tenfold. In fact, they felt that this request was too low. 100-fold repayment was still acceptable, but why did he ask for tenfold? If they really asked for tenfold repayment, how would they split the loot when there were so many of them here? Many of them would not be able to reap any benefits. However, the foreign creatures were not willing to accept tenfold repayment, let alone 100-fold repayment. "There's no need to continue this negotiation," a foreign creature said. The Black Fog Tribe cultivator sneered. If there's no need to continue this negotiation, then let's end it here. All of you leave quickly. Don't stay here any longer. Lin Feng nodded and did not say anything else. He then left the Nine Heavens coffin with the other foreign creatures. After leaving the area, Zhou Jing said with a gloomy face, "These people are going too far. They really don't put us foreign creatures in their eyes. How hateful!" Another foreign creature said, "There's nothing we can do about it. Who told us to be so weak here? This isn't our territory, it's the Black Fog Tribe's territory. It's natural for them to act like they have everything under control. What should we do now?" Another foreign creature asked. Lin Feng said, "They're too stubborn. It's too difficult to negotiate, and even if we succeed, they won't give us too many benefits. This is something we can't tolerate. So many of our brothers have died tragically, and we've been oppressed by them for so many years. If they don't want to pay the price, aren't they just toying with us? I think we should return to the Sirius Star and report this matter to the Masters. Let the Masters decide on this matter." The others all nodded. Then, Lin Feng and the others quickly flew back to the Sirius Star. When she saw Lin Feng and the others return, Lady Qianmei asked, "How did things go?" Lin Feng said, "Lady Qianmei, they're very stubborn. They clearly told us that they definitely won't hand over the Black Fog Tribe cultivators who killed our brothers. In addition, they gave us very little compensation. When I asked them to pay us 10 times the compensation, they refused. We couldn't make a decision on this matter, so we quickly returned to report this matter to the Masters," Zhang Yuan said. Zhang Yuan cursed. "The Black Fog race's cultivators think too highly of themselves. Since they don't place us outlanders in their eyes, there's no need for us to be polite with them. Sirs, let's kill our way over and let them know that we outlanders aren't to be trifled with." "That's right. Let's kill them now. Then, we'll make them pay a terrible price. Kill, kill, kill. Kill all those bastards. Show us the might of the otherworldly creatures." The surroundings immediately became noisy. The foreign creatures all felt very aggrieved, which was why they were all filled with murderous intent. They wanted nothing more than to kill their way to the Nine Heavens God Morning Coffin and fight the Black Mist race to the death. End of chapter. Chapter 5699. Lady Qianmei said, "If we go there rashly, they might be prepared. It's obviously not a good choice. We need to think of a more reliable method before we kill our way over." Although Zhang Yuan couldn't wait to kill his way over to get his revenge, he had no choice but to endure for now after hearing Lady Qianmei's words. However, even after thinking for a long time, they still couldn't come up with a good plan. "I have an idea, but I wonder if it'll work." At this time, a foreign creature spoke. "What idea?" asked Lady Qianmei. Everyone looked at the alien creature who had just spoken. "It's like this," said the alien creature. "A few years ago, I obtained a mysterious minor world. Then I refined it. Now, everyone can enter the minor world. I'll lead a few people and pretend to be the second batch of negotiators. Then, we'll go to their location and enter the Nine Heavens God Morning Coffin. When the time comes, we'll suddenly attack and catch them off guard. What do you think of this idea, Lord?" said Lady Qianmei. "It sounds like a good idea, but they definitely have a way to detect cultivators hiding in minor worlds or spaces. If we go there like this, we'll definitely be discovered. That's why it'll be very difficult to implement. I don't think it'll work." The others nodded as well. They all agreed with Lady Qianmei. At that moment, Lin Feng said, "I have a stone of destiny with me. It contains a powerful destiny energy. If we use destiny energy to seal this minor world, we'll be able to cut off all senses." Hearing Lin Feng's words, everyone's eyes lit up. Destiny energy was one of the most mysterious types of energy, and it could even change one's destiny. Therefore, when Lin Feng said this idea, everyone felt that it was very feasible. Said Zhang Yuan, "I think it'll work. What do you think, lords?" The others also turned to look at the three transcendents. Said Yen Chang, "If we use other powers to seal this minor world, it won't work. However, if we use destiny energy to seal this minor world, we should be able to cut off all auras. I think it'll work." "I think so too," Lady Thousand Charm and Heavenly Ghost Demon King agreed. Lin Feng said, "Since that's the case, let's all enter the miniature world. We'll leave some people outside and pretend to be the ones going to negotiate with the Black Fog race. Once everyone enters the miniature world, I'll immediately use the Stone of Destiny to seal it." "All right, we'll do it this way. However, after the small world is sealed, you people outside try to sense it and see if you can sense our auras. If you can, we'll have to think of another way," said Lady Qian Mei. "Yes." Lin Feng nodded. The cultivator summoned out his little world. Next, Lady Qian Mei and the others quickly flew towards the little world. After the leaders flew into the miniature world, the rest of the otherworldly creatures also flew in. There were still a dozen or so otherworldly creatures outside. Once everyone had entered, Lin Feng took out the Stone of Destiny. In truth, the Stone of Destiny was originally a very ordinary stone. Lin Feng had secretly injected destiny energy into it, and it became the Stone of Destiny that Lin Feng had mentioned. Lin Feng had done this because he didn't want to expose the secret of his great destiny technique. If this secret was exposed, it would be extremely disadvantageous for him. Lin Feng summoned a powerful destiny energy, which enveloped the entire miniature world. Then, the destiny energy sealed the entire miniature world. Lin Feng said, "Brothers, can you sense the auras of the people inside?" Everyone tried to sense it, but they all shook their heads and said, "I can't sense anything. I can't sense anything either. I can't sense anything either." Lin Feng said, "Looks like this method will work." "That's great. With so many cultivators attacking together, we'll definitely be able to crush them. However, we can't show any signs of abnormality because the Black Mist race is extremely cunning. If we show any signs of abnormality, they might discover us. If that happens, our plan will fail completely." After hearing Lin Feng, everyone nodded and said, "Don't worry, we'll hide our emotions." Lin Feng's group quickly flew towards the Nine Heavens coffin. Half a month later, they arrived at the miniature world. Seeing Lin Feng's group coming back, the patrolling cultivators sneered. One of them said, "These guys are like ghosts that won't go away." The leader said, "Your Excellency already guessed that these guys would come back. Their departure earlier was only a means of negotiation." "What do you mean, Your Excellency?" asked a cultivator. "Your Excellency wants to leave them hanging for a while," the leader said. "That's a good idea." The others nodded. The leader sneered and said, "Why don't these guys look at themselves in the mirror? Do they really think this is a place where otherworldly creatures like them can behave atrociously?" Having said that, he led the others towards Lin Feng's group. After they arrived, Lin Feng said, "We want to negotiate with Your Excellency." "Take us there now." The cultivators sneered. The leader said, "Our Excellency is dealing with some urgent matters. When he's done, he'll let you know." Lin Feng's group nodded and waited outside. This wait lasted for more than 10 days. During this time, they kept urging the other party, but they didn't receive an audience. Clearly, the other party was doing this on purpose. Lin Feng was secretly happy. The otherworldly creatures in the miniature world were probably about to die from anger. The angrier they were, the better. The angrier they were, the greater their hatred for the Black Mist race would be. The war would be even more tragic. He would be able to fish in troubled waters and have a greater chance of saving his mother. P.S. 6 chapters. Please subscribe. End of chapter. Chapter 5700. After waiting for an entire month, Lin Feng and the others were finally brought into the Nine Heavens Spirit Mourning Coffin. There were more than 10 cultivators from the other side. Some of them were from the Black Fog tribe, some were from the Black Robe tribe, and some were from the world of the Black Hand. The Black Fog tribe cultivators were the ones in charge. After all, this matter was related to the Black Fog tribe. As for the Black Robe tribe and the cultivators from the world of the Black Hand, they were just there to watch the show. Although they said they were not helping either side, everyone knew that they were definitely on the Black Fog tribe's side. I heard that you want to negotiate with my tribe? After seeing Lin Feng and the others, the Black Fog tribe cultivator showed a mocking expression. Didn't the negotiation fail last time? Why are you here again? Now that you've come back, don't you feel ashamed? Lin Feng smiled and said, Last time, the negotiation failed, but this time, we're not here to negotiate. Not to negotiate? Then what is it for? The Black Fog tribe cultivator asked with a frown. Lin Feng said, We're here to kill you guys. After saying that, Lin Feng's body flashed and appeared next to the Black Fog tribe cultivator. Then, he grabbed the Black Fog tribe cultivator's neck. The Black Fog tribe cultivator's expression suddenly changed. He didn't expect Lin Feng to be so strong. The Black Fog tribe cultivator said loudly, This is the Nine Heaven Spirit Mourning Coffin. If you dare to behave atrociously here, you'll all die without a burial place. Lin Feng smiled and said, Is that so? Then we'll wait and see. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see what happens next. After saying that, Lin Feng directly broke the Black Fog tribe cultivator's neck. Brat! You're courting death! Seeing that the Black Fog tribe cultivator had been killed by Lin Feng, the cultivators from the three great powers were furious. They wanted nothing more than to tear Lin Feng and the others to pieces. Meanwhile, these foreign creatures were extremely excited. They had been given the cold shoulder for such a long time, feeling incomparably sullen. Now that they saw this fellow being killed by Lin Feng, they were obviously incomparably happy. Kill them! A Black Fog race cultivator said in a deep voice. The cultivators from the three great forces wanted to kill off Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng said, Why aren't you letting them out? The foreign being quickly nodded and summoned his small world. All of the foreign creatures in the small world flew out. Run! When the cultivators of the three great powers saw so many foreign creatures flying out, they were scared out of their wits. Their faces were as pale as paper. How could they dare to stay any longer? They hurriedly fled into the depths. Ha 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 ha! Where do you think you're going? Yen Chang laughed and sent out a palm strike. A huge energy palm was condensed in the void. Then, the huge energy palm ruthlessly slapped towards those people who were trying to escape. A group of cultivators was instantly annihilated. Madame Thousand Charms said, Send 500 people to deal with those people outside. The rest of you, kill them together. After killing them, don't forget to take their storage rings. These people are extremely rich. Even if we can't obtain any opportunities here, as long as we can get the storage rings of the experts of the three great powers, it'll be the same as obtaining many great opportunities. Madame Thousand Charms' words were very reasonable. After all, the three great powers had basically obtained all the opportunities in the buried god's starfield. Therefore, killing these people and taking their storage rings was indeed the same as obtaining many great opportunities. However, if they could obtain some other opportunities here, it would be even better. Yes. The 2 leader-level foreign creatures led the 500 foreign creatures and flew out. They were going to clean up the remnants of the epics outside. If there were too many remnants of the epics outside when they retreated, it would be very disadvantageous for them. Therefore, they had to clean up the remnants of the epics outside to ensure that they could leave without any obstructions. Although the remnants of the epics outside had relatively high cultivation bases, compared to these foreign creatures, you are still far too lacking. It shouldn't be a problem for the foreign creatures to get rid of the remnants of the epics outside. At this moment, the large group gathered together and charged towards the depths. The foreign creatures charged at the front while Lin Feng's group of 4 stayed behind. Lin Feng's group's main goal was to save people. Therefore, Lin Feng planned to conserve his strength first. Moreover, Lin Feng still didn't know where his mother was sealed. Lin Feng still wanted to find someone to ask. He planned to capture a few cultivators of the 3 great powers and ask them. Soon, they reached the depths of the first layer of the 9 heavens god mourning coffin. There was a huge light pillar in the depths of the first layer. This light pillar contained extremely terrifying energy. This light pillar seemed to be a teleportation light pillar. Clearly, there were no stairs here. If one wanted to go up, they had to take the teleportation light pillar. A large number of foreign creatures entered the teleportation light pillars. Lin Feng's group of 4 was mixed in with the crowd. Soon, they arrived at the second layer. The second layer of the 9 Heavens God Morning Coffin was extremely large. There were many areas shrouded in primal chaos. Aside from these areas, there were also many huge mountain ranges. Within these mountains, there were many caves. And those caves were actually equivalent to prison cells. Heavens, those mountain ranges are all made of forbidden law stones. Many foreign creatures roared out in disbelief. Forbidden law stones were extremely precious. Some top powers might find some forbidden law stones and forge them into materials to create a cage. No matter how strong someone was, once they were imprisoned, it would be very difficult for them to escape. After all, once one's magic power was sealed, one's battle prowess would drop drastically. Such precious forbidden magic stones had actually formed one huge mountain range after another in this place. It was too inconceivable. "We're rich! We're rich! If we collect those forbidden law stones, how many immortal stones can we sell them for?" Many foreign creatures roared out in excitement. Qian Meinyang said, "The most important thing right now is to release the prisoners, then collect those forbidden law stones." "Yes!" These foreign creatures roared out loudly. Then, they quickly flew towards those mountain ranges. At this time, many experts who were stationed in the second layer of the 9 Heavens God Morning Coffin rushed over. "You foreign creatures dare to attack the 9 Heavens God Morning Coffin? You're simply seeking death. You will all die here!" The experts of the 3 great powers roared furiously. "Bastards, you should be the ones dying!" Many foreign creatures cursed, unwilling to be outdone. Then, the 2 sides engaged in a great battle. Blood splashed and flesh flew. Many foreign creatures and cultivators of the 3 great powers died on the spot. Chapter 5701. Of course, even though both sides suffered heavy casualties, if one really had to make a comparison, the number of casualties of the foreign creatures was far less than that of the 3 great powers. After all, the 3 great powers only had about 2,000 cultivators stationed on the second floor. These 2,000 cultivators couldn't be compared to the foreign creatures in terms of individual combat ability. Moreover, the foreign creatures had 3 half cultivations surpassing experts overseeing them. That was why if one truly compared the 2 sides, the difference between the 2 sides really was a bit too great. The 3 great power sides suffering a bit more losses was also to be expected. Quite a few foreign creatures slaughtered their way towards the various mountain ranges. The cultivators in the cages shouted loudly, "Let us out! Hurry up and let us out! We'll kill the enemy together with you!" Then, the foreign creatures released the people inside. They didn't necessarily want to release the people inside. The main thing was that releasing them now was extremely beneficial for them. The cultivators who were imprisoned were quite strong. After being released, they quickly joined the battle. When the cultivators of the 3 great powers saw that they couldn't stop these people, they all fled towards the depths. In the process of fleeing, many people were killed. At the same time, many of the foreign creatures wanted to collect the mountains formed by the forbidden magic stones. They even fantasized about selling the mountains formed by the forbidden magic stones. When the time came, they would be able to make a fortune. This kind of thinking was quite good. If they really succeeded, they would be able to make a fortune. However, when they tried to collect the forbidden magic stones, the mountains didn't move at all. Those mountain ranges actually didn't move at all. When they saw this scene, the expressions of those foreign creatures immediately became ugly. The mountain ranges actually couldn't be collected. This completely destroyed the beautiful dreams they had in their hearts. These foreign creatures guessed that the mountains had already merged with the 9 Heaven God Morning Coffin, which was why they failed to collect them. Therefore, many of the foreign creatures began to curse loudly. "Don't let them escape! Kill these bastards!" The cultivators who were released roared angrily. Then, they quickly chased after the escaping cultivators. Together with the foreign creatures, they attacked the escaping cultivators. In the end, only a small number of people managed to escape. Most of them were killed. Then, the foreign creatures and the cultivators who were released all entered the teleportation light pillar. They arrived at the third level of the Nine Heavens God Mourning Coffin. The third layer's cultivators had already received news of the foreign creatures' invasion. That was why as soon as the foreign creatures and the cultivators who were released arrived at the third layer, they suffered a powerful attack from the third layer's garrison. The two sides immediately engaged in a chaotic battle. Some were busy fighting against the cultivators from the three great forces while some were busy saving the other cultivators. Lin Feng planned to capture a few cultivators and search their memories to see where his mother was imprisoned. If he couldn't find them, he would capture a few more people and bring them to a hidden place to interrogate them. Lin Feng locked onto an extremely powerful Black Fog Tribe cultivator. Then, he quickly flew towards the Black Fog Tribe cultivator. The Black Fog Tribe cultivator also saw Lin Feng flying towards him. When he saw how young Lin Feng was, his expression immediately became extremely cold. He had cultivated for a long time while Lin Feng was so young. Naturally, he didn't think that he couldn't beat Lin Feng. Therefore, the Black Fog Tribe cultivator slapped towards Lin Feng. He could almost see the scene of Lin Feng being killed by his slap. However, when their attacks collided, the Black Fog Tribe cultivator was sent flying by Lin Feng's slap. The Black Fog Tribe cultivator's face immediately revealed an expression of disbelief. Even with his powerful cultivation, he couldn't block the attack of such a young cultivator. This made him pale with fright. Only now did he realize that the young human cultivator in front of him couldn't be described with common sense. This person's cultivation was simply unimaginable. At this moment, Lin Feng quickly charged towards the Black Fog Tribe cultivator. When the Black Fog Tribe cultivator saw Lin Feng charging towards him, his expression became extremely gloomy. He wanted to quickly escape, but Lin Feng didn't give him the chance. Lin Feng directly suppressed the Black Fog Tribe cultivator. Then, Lin Feng grabbed the Black Fog Tribe cultivator's head and directly searched his soul. However, at this moment, the Black Fog Tribe cultivator's soul directly shattered. This Black Fog Tribe cultivator's soul was set up with a powerful restriction, so it was impossible to search. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. However, he was already mentally prepared for this situation. Therefore, even if something like this happened, there was nothing to be surprised about. Lin Feng then suppressed a few more cultivators. There were Black Fog Tribe cultivators, Black Robe Tribe cultivators, and also cultivators from the Mastermind's world. After failing 4 times in a row, Lin Feng planned to capture someone and find a hidden place to interrogate them if he failed again. However, when he searched the cultivator's soul for the 5th time, Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. Because this cultivator's mind didn't have any soul restriction, Lin Feng obtained a lot of important information from this cultivator's mind. For example, this cultivator's mind contained a lot of information about the Nine Heavens God Mourning Coffin. Some experts with extremely special identities were suppressed in the 9th level of the Nine Heavens God Mourning Coffin. However, he hadn't been to the 9th level of the Nine Heavens God Mourning Coffin. Therefore, he didn't know the specific identities of the people suppressed there. After obtaining this information, Lin Feng's face showed a hint of joy. His mother was from the Sovereign Emperor clan, so her identity was very sensitive. It was very likely that she was suppressed in the 9th level of the Nine Heavens God Mourning Coffin. Chapter 5702. Lin Feng was thinking about how to enter the 9th level of the Nine Heavens Spirit Mourning Coffin. This was because he was only on the 3rd level. It would be too difficult for him to enter the 9th level. Lin Feng felt that it was impossible for them to fight their way to the 9th level. Therefore, it was basically impossible for them to enter the 9th level. However, Lin Feng wanted to go to the 9th level to save people. Lin Feng quickly thought of an idea. Could he disguise himself as a Black Fog tribe cultivator and pretend to call for reinforcements? This way, he would be able to ascend to a higher level. If all went well, he should be able to reach the 9th level. Lin Feng felt that this was a feasible method. Therefore, Lin Feng gathered the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Holy. Lin Feng told the three of them about his idea. The three of them felt that Lin Feng's idea was feasible. Therefore, the four of them flew towards the depths. It didn't take long for the four of them to reach the depths of the 3rd level. Lin Feng and the three of them became Black Fog tribe cultivators. Lin Feng then used the Great Destiny technique. He used the Great Destiny power to change their auras. Now, they were basically no different from the Black Fog tribe cultivators. The Black Fog tribe cultivators couldn't tell that Lin Feng and the others were impersonators. The cultivators on the 4th level had already discovered the battle below. When Lin Feng and the others entered, these people were already planning to enter the space below. Said Lin Feng hastily. Masters, I don't know why, but thousands of foreign cultivators joined hands to attack the 9 celestial coffin. They released many prisoners. Hurry up and go and help the cultivators down there. Otherwise, those foreign cultivators and the prisoners who were released will come back to attack us, said Lin Feng hastily. The cultivators of the 3 major powers knew about the battle below, but they hadn't expected it to be so tragic. For countless years, such a thing had never happened before. Therefore, these people were gnashing their teeth in hatred towards these foreign creatures. Moreover, they could imagine that many people had already died below. Thinking of their dead compatriots, these people became even more furious. Therefore, the cultivators of the 3 great powers quickly flew down. At this time, Lin Feng revealed a trace of a smile. It seemed that the implementation of his method was very successful. The Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the heretical revered saint were also delighted. Lin Feng's group of 4 arrived at the teleportation light pillar in the depths of the 4th layer. They had successfully entered the 5th layer of space. After arriving at the 5th level, Lin Feng shouted, The foreign creatures have gathered thousands of people and are attacking the 9 heaven god mourning coffin. They have released many prisoners, and the foreign creatures and the prisoners are working together. It's too terrifying. Our people have suffered heavy casualties, and we can't hold on much longer. Everyone, quickly go down and help. The cultivators on the 5th level were all extremely shocked. Someone actually dared to attack the 9 heavens god mourning coffin. This was too unbelievable, but they naturally didn't think that Lin Feng was lying. The cultivators on this floor hastily gathered together and quickly flew down. Lin Feng followed suit. He, the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the heretical revered saint led the cultivators on the 6th, 7th, and 8th levels to the battlefield below. Then, the 4 of them arrived at the 9th level. As soon as they arrived at the 9th level, someone flew over and looked coldly at Lin Feng's group. He said, The 9th level is the forbidden area of the 9 heaven god mourning coffin. No one is allowed to enter without permission. You should know that by now. Since you know that, why are you still trespassing on the 9th level? Said Lin Feng hastily. Master, a large number of foreign cultivators gathered together and attacked the 9 heavens coffin. We've suffered many casualties. The 4 of us came to inform you that we can't resist the attacks of the foreign cultivators and the prisoners. We hope that the master of the 9th floor can come and help us, said Lin Feng hastily. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the cultivators on the 9th level were extremely shocked. Clearly, they hadn't expected this to happen. Are you telling the truth? The leading cultivator asked in a deep voice. Lin Feng nodded. Of course it's true. How could I joke about something like that? Let's go. Let's go down and take a look, the leading cultivator said in a deep voice. After that, the cultivators on the 9th level gathered together. There were about 3,000 people in total. This was the strongest force in the 9 heavens god mourning coffin. These people flew down, but there were still a few hundred people guarding the 9th level. After seeing these people, Lin Feng frowned slightly. There were so many of them, and they were so strong. On the other hand, he only had 4 people on his side. It would be very difficult for him to deal with them. However, Lin Feng wasn't completely helpless. The 4 insect swarms could be of use at this time. Therefore, Lin Feng summoned the 4 insect swarms. An endless swarm of insects flew out and swiftly flew towards the surrounding cultivators from the 3 great forces. Du Zhu, go and help them, Lin Feng said. Du Zhu nodded and quickly flew over. He released his poison and cooperated with the insect swarms to deal with the cultivators of the 3 great powers. What's the meaning of this? The cultivators of the 3 great powers were shocked. Although they didn't know why Lin Feng and the others had suddenly attacked them, since Lin Feng and the others had attacked them, they were enemies and not friends. They had to suppress Lin Feng and the others first. Lin Feng didn't say much to them. The 4 insect swarms joined forces with Du Zhu to fight the cultivators. The insect swarms were constantly dying. They weren't a match for the cultivators at all. However, it shouldn't be a problem to hold them back for a while. Therefore, the cultivators' hopes of suppressing Lin Feng and the others were dashed. At this moment, Lin Feng, the Emperor Brush, and the heretic sovereign sage flew towards the first mountain. Chapter 5703. There were only 2 mountain ranges in the 9th level. There weren't too many cages either. The first mountain range only had a dozen or so cages, and some of the cages didn't have any prisoners. Lin Feng saw a few prisoners. The prisoners also saw Lin Feng's group. Their faces were filled with astonishment. They didn't expect a few cultivators to sneak into the 9th level. These cultivators were obviously extremely powerful, and now they saw hope of escaping. Save us! They looked at Lin Feng's group with hopeful eyes. Lin Feng, the Emperor Brush, and the heretic sovereign saint quickly flew over and shattered the cages. The few cultivators walked out. When they came out, their dermic powers were rapidly recovering, and a world-destroying aura surged out. Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed when he sensed the strong cultivator's qi. These people's auras were simply too powerful. Even if they were unable to display their peak combat strength for the time being, as long as they could display a portion of their combat strength, it was already terrifying enough. When they saw Lin Feng's group release the prisoners, the expressions of the cultivators from the 3 major powers became extremely ugly. Lin Feng asked, "Seniors, is there a female prisoner called Jilonger here?" "Yes. She's been suppressed in the depths of the mountain range. You can go there to find her," said a cultivator. "Many thanks." Lin Feng cupped his fists and quickly flew towards the mountain range. At this moment, dozens of cultivators exterminated the swarm of insects that surrounded them and charged towards Lin Feng's group. The Emperor Brush and the heretic sovereign saint helped Lin Feng delay these people. Lin Feng continued to fly deeper into the mountain range. Lin Feng arrived at the 2nd mountain range. There were 3 people imprisoned here. There was a demon race cultivator, a sea race cultivator, and a woman. The woman looked to be about 30 years old. She was extremely beautiful. When Lin Feng saw her, his body trembled slightly. The feeling of being connected by blood made Lin Feng's eyes burst into tears. The woman's eyes were originally closed, but at this moment she seemed to have sensed something. She opened her eyes and looked at Lin Feng. Because Lin Feng had changed back to his original appearance, the woman saw Lin Feng's original appearance when she saw Lin Feng. She stood up, as if she couldn't believe what her eyes were seeing. "Oh, damn it! Who is this kid? He's so powerful! He actually came here. Kid, quickly open the prison and let us out," the marine cultivator said. The devil cultivator also said, "Kid, quickly let us out. I want to start a massacre and kill all those bastards from the 3 great powers." Lin Feng directly destroyed the 3 cages. The sea race cultivator and the devil race cultivator quickly rushed out and joined the battle. The woman also walked out. "You're Fulmer?" the woman asked with a trembling voice. Lin Feng nodded heavily. "Mother. It's me. He let his mother suffer here. Fomr is unfilial. Fomr came to save mother. Jilonger's tears suddenly flowed out. Now, Jilonger's heart was extremely complicated. She didn't expect her son to be able to come here. She also didn't expect her son to be so powerful. But now was not the time for mother and son to reminisce. Because the situation was still very dangerous, they had to leave quickly. Lin Feng said, "Mother, let's go out quickly. We'll talk after we get out." Jilonger nodded and quickly flew out with Lin Feng. At this moment, the battle on the 9th level had reached a climax. Other than Lin Feng, Jilonger, Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, Evil Sovereign Saint, Marine Cultivator, and Devil Cultivator, there were 5 other cultivators who were previously imprisoned in the first mountain range. In total, there were 12 people. The 12 people were very strong, but the cultivators from the 3 great powers were also very strong. Lin Feng's 4 insect swarms were more or less eliminated, so the cultivators were now free. Hundreds of experts surrounded Lin Feng and the rest. Lin Feng and the rest wanted to rush out, but they were all forced back. The leader of the group was an expert who surpassed his realm, and his strength was very terrifying. Then, under his lead, hundreds of strong cultivators attacked together. Lin Feng and the others couldn't break out of the encirclement easily. Moreover, the most terrifying thing was that at this moment, a terrifying wave of energy came from the depths of the 9th level. Then, 3 experts who surpassed their realm flew out from the depths of the 9th level. Obviously, there were 4 experts who surpassed their realm in this place. And then there were the other hundreds of top experts. So many experts, how powerful was that? How could Lin Feng and the rest be a match for so many people? If they waited for the other 3 experts who surpassed their realm to kill them, it would be even worse for Lin Feng and the rest. The Oceanic Race Cultivator cursed loudly. Mother Cur. After being imprisoned here for so many years, my cultivation has dropped tremendously. Otherwise, why would I be afraid of these bastards? The Devil Cultivator said, "Let's break out with all our strength. We won't be able to break through. They have too many strong cultivators, and if the 4 transcendents work together, we'll definitely die." An expert from the human clan said, "What do we do now?" Another person said in a deep voice. Everyone's expression was unsightly. Lin Feng looked at the primal chaos in the distance. He frowned slightly and thought for a moment. Then, he said, "How about we go into that primal chaos world?" The others frowned. No one knew what was inside the primal chaos world formed by the 9 heavens god Morning Coffin. That was because the primal chaos worlds were very mysterious. Even the cultivators of the 3 great factions could not explore the secrets of those primal chaos worlds. If they rashly entered those primal chaos worlds, they would risk their lives. In the past, the 3 great factions had lost many experts to explore those primal chaos worlds. And that was the primal chaos world below. This was the 9th level. The number 9 was very ominous. No one knew how dangerous the primal chaos world on the 9th level was. If Lin Feng and the rest took the risk to enter, it would be too dangerous. But now, they seem to have no other choice. P.S. Today's update will be 4, tomorrow's update will be 6, and today's update will be made up for today's update. End of chapter. Chapter 5704. Everyone knew that it was extremely dangerous to enter the primal chaos world, but Lin Feng and the others couldn't think of any other way. Lin Feng said, "Everyone, let's enter the primal chaos world now. It's better than staying outside." The rest of the people looked uncertain. They were also wondering if there was any other way. Lin Feng didn't care about what they thought. He, his mother, the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Saint quickly flew towards the primal chaos world. The Marine Race Cultivator cursed. "What are you waiting for? We'll definitely die if we're surrounded. Let's hurry over." The Marine Race Cultivator quickly followed by the Devil Race Cultivator. The other experts also knew that this was their only choice. Therefore, they gritted their teeth and quickly flew over. the 4 quasi-transcendents and hundreds of experts all chased after Lin Feng and the others. However, they weren't able to stop Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng and the others quickly entered the primal chaos world. When they entered, Lin Feng discovered something terrifying. A huge black hole appeared and swallowed everyone. Everything was too sudden. They didn't even have time to react. F***CK, what's going on? Are we going to die here as soon as we enter? The marine race cultivator wailed. Said the cultivator. Lin Feng and the others sensed a powerful strength surround them. In the next moment, they felt themselves being flung out. When they reappeared, they were in a forest. This forest was also shrouded in chaos chi. It was extremely strange. Everyone stood up and sized up their surroundings. However, they didn't find anything. There wasn't even the sound of insects or birds. The marine race cultivator asked, "What do you think this place is?" The human race cultivator said, "The area covered by primal chaos chi is very strange. It's hard to guess what this place is, but I think it's a special small world formed inside the 9-heaven god mourning coffin." At that moment, a cultivator with wings on his back said, "The universe is created and destroyed. The 9 heavens god burying coffin once buried a universe, so it's possible that some unknown small worlds, such as spaces, are formed inside." After hearing this, Lin Feng's face was filled with shock. The 9-heaven god mourning coffin buried a universe? Didn't that sound too unbelievable? One had to know that even if an era was destroyed, the universe would still exist. For example, the 9 continents universe had existed for 3,000 eras. Every time an epoch was destroyed, the universe would still exist. Then, new life forms, new races, and new hope would appear in the universe. Thus, a new epoch would begin. If the 9-heaven god mourning coffin really did bury a universe. This was too inconceivable. The origins of these people were not ordinary. They might know a lot of secrets. Therefore, some things might sound unbelievable, but they weren't necessarily false. Therefore, Lin Feng asked, "Seniors, do you know the specific origin of the 9-heaven god mourning coffin?" The cultivator with wings said, "I heard that the 9-heaven god mourning coffin was created by countless experts, one after another. It took them countless years and years to create it. It's said that the 9-heaven god mourning coffin was created to bury a universe." "What do you mean by burying a universe?" Lin Feng asked, puzzled. "I don't know about that," the cultivator with wings said. At this time, another creature with blood-red scales said, "Actually, the current 9-heaven god mourning coffin isn't as powerful as it used to be. The old 9-heaven god mourning coffin was truly terrifying." He looked at Lin Feng and asked, "Do you know why the 9-heaven god mourning coffin chose the Black Fog tribe?" Lin Feng shook his head. He really didn't know about this. Because the 9-heaven god mourning coffin's weapon spirit was severely injured. If it wanted to recover, it needed to continuously devour cultivators' fates, flesh, and blood. This was an extremely long process. Therefore, many experts were captured and devoured over the long years. This method was extremely cruel. Ordinary factions wouldn't do something like this. Of course, even if they wanted to, they didn't have the ability to do so. However, the Black Fog tribe was different. They were strong and evil enough. They were a perfect match for the 9-heaven god mourning coffin's weapon spirit. Lin Feng said, "So you were captured like this too?" The cultivator nodded. "That's right." Then, he sighed and said, "Over the long years, we've seen too many people die. I never thought that we'd have a chance to fight." The others couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Lin Feng said, "Then let's rest here first. You have to quickly recover your strength. That way, you'll have a better chance of getting out alive." Everyone nodded. They had just escaped and experienced an intense battle. Therefore, they were quite tired and needed to rest. Lin Feng knew that they had been trapped here for so long that they definitely didn't have any cultivation resources. Therefore, Lin Feng took out many high-grade immortal stones. Each person received 100 million high-grade immortal stones. They could refine the stones and recover their strength. At the same time, Lin Feng gave them some healing pills. He let them use the pills to recover. These people didn't stand on ceremony with Lin Feng. They put away the things that Lin Feng gave them and scattered. They began to consume the pills and refine the immortal stones. They used the pills to quickly recover their strength. The Emperor Brush and the others also scattered to recover. Ji Longer wasn't in a hurry to recover her strength. She had too many things to say to Lin Feng. Of course, she was most concerned about Lin Baiqian because he was her beloved husband. Fenger, how's your father now? Ji Longer asked Lin Feng. Lin Feng sighed and said, My father was infected with a seed demon. He came here a few years before me to find my mother, but when I arrived at the buried god's starfield, he didn't come here. I suspect that his body has some problems because of the seed demon. That's why he couldn't come here. Seed demon. Ji Longer's heart trembled. She naturally knew what that word meant. Once a cultivator was infected with a seed demon, they would completely lose themselves and become a slave of the imperial family behind the scenes. They would even forget their family, children, and lovers. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.